Well, my name is Alexandre. I've been using Blender for some, I don't know, 3, 4 years, I guess. I have been working with 3D for some 6 or 7 years, something like that. And I don't know, let me open the file here to see what should I say.
Go ahead.
Oh, and you guys are using Linux there as well?
Yes, we're on Ubuntu.
Oh, that's kind of expected from Blender users, I guess. Well, I don't know. Try to ask me something. I'm not really sure what to say.
Okay.
What kind of work do you produce in Blender? What do you make?
In the company that I'm working with right now, I'm doing stills, especially for the government, which is not a very good thing for me. Because, yes, they're not very worried about quality or anything, especially here in Brazil. It's they just have to spend the money. Before that, I used to work with animations, especially in São Paulo, and that's a much better area to work with. And I hope to be there again with fluid simulations and stuff like that. Well, I didn't. Should I show something? I don't know.
Sure. Yeah. If you have, yeah. Why don't you show something?
Okay, let me try here. Let me see. The jobs that I'm doing right now are from this company here. Let me just put the other screen here. Can you see something? Oh, it's flash, so there's nothing you can see. It's all green there, right?
That's a nice render, though.
That's beautiful green. It's a lovely color.
Yeah, the guy who did this website did it all in flash, and you can imagine this is not something very nice for a web designer to do. But I guess I can show something in here. Let me see. That's stuff like this that we do there. Most of these jobs are for the government. Like here, it was against sex with children. I don't know how to say that in English. Pedophilia. This was for a shopping mall. Not really sure what to say. We just do stills there. You know?
Is all this done in Blender?
Well, some of them are done in V-Ray with Blender. This one, for instance, was with V-Ray. This was before Cycles, because it was impossible to do anything professionally with Blender render. I tried the FRA, but V-Ray it's a really great renderer. It's a little bit difficult to compare FRA with everything that V-Ray gives me. So most of these works here were done in Blender, but using V-Ray. Let me see another one. Oh, this was a concept. Let me try to see the original. Oh, here. This one was with V-Ray too. This one was V-Ray. This one was V-Ray. Well, but nowadays, oh, this one was also V-Ray. Nowadays we use cycles there. It's a blessing that I can work only in Blender, and especially in Linux. That was one of my biggest priorities. I wanted to get rid of Windows, and it's a little bit complicated to do that with V-Ray. We tried to buy V-Ray for Linux here. In Brazil, everything is pirated software. I guess you probably know. But even buying V-Ray was too difficult. People would, there is just one shop in here in São Paulo, and they wouldn't answer our emails, so they really don't care about people using Linux. But then Cycles came along and everything changed, and now I don't really care about V-Ray anymore. I mean, not so much. There are a lot of things that Cycles doesn't really do, and that I really wish it will be able to do in the future.
Such as?
But all passes, the render passes in Cycles are nothing like that you can compare to V-Ray. For instance, you can, let me see if I have an example here. No, I don't think I'll have it. But you can create a person like this creature here. I think it was, this version was done in V-Ray. There is, let me see if I can show you the image using a print screen. Let's see. Just a moment. Okay. I'm trying to show here the flexibility that V-Ray gives me. I'm not sure if I will be able to.
Sorry.
The flexibility. What?
No, sorry. I opened a second window.
It didn't work, the idea that I had. Okay, whatever. The point is, with V-Ray, I can render the shadows and the GI and everything separate in with an alpha, and it's going to work great with Photoshop or anything. I don't really have an example here. But the point is, I can render someone in the supermarket here, for instance. They are, the supermarket is 3D, they are not. But if they were, I could render just their reflections, just the shadows, just the GI, everything completely separated from the rest. While in Cycles, if you try to render the shadows, you're going to get the shadows from the boxes on the floor and everything as well. And that makes it kind of impossible to do a really good composition with real footage and 3D. I guess.
Is that a feature, do you know that they're working on for a future version, or?
I really don't think so. I've never heard anything about it, and I'm not quite sure how they could handle this, because they right now Cycles sees everything as ray lights. It doesn't know how to separate, like this guy is going to emit one shadow and this guy is going to emit another shadow, and how to make them separated. Well, it's unbiased render, so I am surprised about how many things we can do in Cycles, how well we can separate a lot of features of the passes, but I don't know how could they really do something like this. You don't have one light emitting one shadow and this being completely separate from the other. So right now it's a pain to do this in Cycle, but it is possible. Well, I don't know.
So one of the reasons that we asked you to talk with us is that as a group, each month we meet and we kind of get together and we talk about a specific topic related to Blender. And one of the ideas that was been tossed around was to kind of bring the group together a bit was we would get footage from individuals and potentially put together a show reel over the course of the next year or so. Something like that, and we're going to discuss that sort of thing after we're finished speaking with you. But we really liked your show reel. We really liked your CG reel. And if people haven't seen it, we'll put up a link to your Vimeo site. And, is there? Yeah. I'd like to know a bit about your CG reel. How you went about putting it together, who your audience was, that sort of thing, and why, essentially, why you put one together.
Okay, let me see. There's a little bit about the technical part, but I guess I should be leaving it for last. I had a specific need that I'm trying to get out of Brazil. And like with everything that I told you about the government and corruption and piracy, you can probably see that for someone who likes free software and this kind of ideas, this is not the best country to live in. So I put up this reel in the beginning of this year to try to send it to other companies in other countries and see if I could get anything. But it was a bad timing because of the crisis that we have everywhere. I received very good answers from some companies in Europe, for instance, and some of them almost crying, telling me that they're going to close. And indeed, they did close in these months. Very, very good companies that I was really surprised that they're having any kind of difficulties, and they really closed.
Wow.
So it wasn't just an excuse not to give me a job.
Because they really followed through with it if it was an excuse.
Yeah, they put off their website offline, so yeah.
Okay.
Then my audience that you asked me, well, companies is not very big ones because I don't really think I have the level to send it to a very big company. But I think that in small and medium companies I could be of use, especially being a generalist, because they need generalists there, while in big companies you need to be a specialist. You're not going to get anywhere with a reel with everything inside it. I am trying to specialize on that, especially on fluids. When I get there, I can send them to bigger companies, but right now it's probably better to put it in a smaller or medium.
Okay. What are you trying to specialize in?
What?
What are you trying to specialize in?
Fluids and effects.
Oh, okay.
When I get there, then I can try something bigger. Let me see. I don't know if you're going to be able to see the reel. I believe you will. Just a moment. As you can see, I have quite a lot of folders in here, and sometimes on the showreel, I guess it's this one. I'm not. Oh, yeah. So no, it's not really going to work very well to try to. Yeah, can you see? You can, right?
Yeah, we can see it.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Why don't we
Well, if I was trying to send it to a bigger company, I would try to put only special effects like the fluids and compositions and so on. But since I'm targeting smaller companies, I try to put everything, even stuff that I'm not really comfortable with, like these modelings, characters, and something like that. Because even if there are some people who say that if you don't think your work is very good, you shouldn't put it on your reel. I think it depends on who you're targeting. If they can see that you can at least do some characters, some animation of some sort, and they need someone to do that job, it's good for them to know that they can do it inside, even if it's not going to be great. Well, and that's why there are a lot of different things in the reel. And you asked me another question.
Well, could you tell us about? So one of the things I've heard about Showreels is that you put all your best stuff first.
Oh yes, and I did that.
You did.
I really believe that as well. What I hear, and I've worked in some companies, and it is true that they receive a lot. Even in smaller companies, like I worked, they receive a lot of reels, and it is possible, especially in bigger companies, that if you don't put your best work in the beginning, they're not going to see the rest of it. And well, like I said, I put some things that I'm not really comfortable with, but I've seen people in companies making a lot of fun of work from other people. I'm not sure if that's really important, because if they don't like your work, they're not going to hire you anyway. but it's very sad to see them making jokes and everything from people works. But the thing is, they're going to remember your work. If they find it's really poor, and they're going to make jokes of your work, I don't think even if you get a lot better, you're gonna have any chance of working there. So I think depending on your audience, it's a good idea to put something that you're not really comfortable, but you think that the company is going to need that kind of work, but not if you think they're going to find it very bad. Then you're going to be remembered in a very bad way. So yeah, I try to put the very best in the beginning, the chocolate, even if it gets a little bit annoying, you know, just seeing chocolate, chocolate, chocolate. But if everyone around me say that this is the best things that I have to put it.
Okay.
Oh, and it's a good idea to listen to other people too. If everyone is saying that this or that work that you don't really like, but everyone's saying that it's really good, so yeah, you should put it in the beginning. But of course, you should ask this to people who know what they're saying, right? You're not. There are people outside who get really amazed by very poor things, but we know it's not that much. So yeah, I try to put everything that I think it's good in the beginning. I try to separate by context a little, not so much that I'm going to put something bad in the middle or in the beginning. For instance, I try to put a simulation here in the beginning. The very opening itself is a simulation. And then I try to change it to sceneries, I guess. I'm not quite sure if yeah, to sceneries and compositions. But this context, it's not so important. If I'm going to put one work out of context in the beginning, but it's good, so yeah, I'm going to do it. What else?
Did you have a length that you were shooting for? Or did
Yeah. I don't have the link right now, but you guys probably know what?
The length, how long, how much time?
Yeah. I try to put it in below 2 minutes. That's what I was trying to say. There is a link in the Pixar, I guess Canada Pixar, that they have some guidelines for the reel, and I try to follow all of them. Okay. I should have separated that before, but I can send the link to those who haven't seen it.
Yeah, that would be great. That would be really good to look at.
Let me just try to see if I can find it real quick. I think I did, but I think it's in Flash as well. Let me see. No, it's not. Oh, that's good. How can I send a link to people here?
Just put it in the comments on the side, and I'll put it up on the YouTube channel when it's done.
Okay, there you go. They have a lot of very good tips here. Of course, this is directed to a bigger studio, so it doesn't really apply to me in everything. For instance, they tell that the thing that I told you, that you shouldn't put something that you're not really comfortable with. But I'm a generalist, so like I explained, I don't really think this applies to me so much, but I still think it's important. But most things that they told here are very good for everyone, smaller or bigger studios, like the length. They say that the length should be below. Oh, they exaggerate a little bit here. They say that it should be below 4 minutes, and I really think it's a lot.
Yeah, that seems a lot.
Yeah, I think if you have a very, very good work, and all of those 4 minutes are going to be thrilling, and anyway, then you could make it a little bit longer. But I think if you have such a good work, you shouldn't be really worried about how you're going to do your reel. You probably already know how to do it. So yeah, I hear that the smaller that you make it, the better it is. So some people say that you should put it in about 1 minute and something like that, and I agree. But well, I'm trying to. I'm a little bit confused in this part because I didn't really follow the rules that I thought that I should. But there are so many works that I thought, no, I really have to put it there. Really have to show them that I am able to do this. I have to put what's impressive and what I think they are going to use in their workflow. So I put it in 1 minute and 40. It's not too big, but it could be a little bit smaller. What else?
What software did you use to actually put the video together?
Yeah, that's something that I wanted to say. Blender.
Oh.
I tried it in After Effects. All reels that I did before were in After Effects, and it's a real pain because it crashes a lot and it doesn't work well with 32-bit HDR. In this reel specifically, I couldn't even render. It was crashing all the time, and it was really slow to see all the footages, while in Blender it's in real time. So I decided, well, I'm going to try to learn the sequence editor, and I did it in here. I'm not saying that it's smooth and it replaces After Effects, but for most people and most things that we do, I think it's better than After Effects. Especially, I don't know if you can see the speed that I can see the footage. You can do this in After Effects, at least not in my computer. It's amazing how much faster I can see the footage and choose what I need to put and so on. So yeah, I use Blender. I don't know if you can see here how I did the text.
Nice. Yep.
It's all just 3D.
Yeah.
And I have some animations of the letters here. And it's great. You can use a lot of things that Blender offers you. I didn't really use them here, but I could. I could have made the letters shine or with a cool rendering and shadow or something like that. And you can do that in After Effects. I mean, you can now, I guess. They have some 3D capabilities, but there are still no Blender. It's a little bit hard to mix what you have in the 3D view with the footage that you're getting below them, but it's really great that you have a complete 3D software to be using in composition. Does that answer? I don't know.
Yeah, it does. Did you and you have an audio track there in the sequencer then too that you use?
No.
Okay.
I guess I used what?
I'm sorry. No, go ahead. Finish what you're saying.
I used Audacity. I'm not quite sure if I remember well enough, but I didn't trust Blender to do the codecs well enough for the web for Vimeo or something like that. So I exported it as a JPEG sequence, and then I used I don't remember the software that we. You see this little bug here in the menu. I don't know why this happened. The software was OpenShot, yes.
Okay.
So I exported as a JPEG sequence, and then I put it in OpenShot, and it has great codec possibilities. And and I also used Handbrake.
Okay, cool.
And that's well, I guess that's it. And the cool thing is it's all open source software, and it was easier than doing it with After Effects. Another question? I don't know.
Other questions?
How long have you been using Blender? How did you get started?
Well, I guess 4 years, something like that, in 2008, 4 or 5 years. It was because of 3ds Max and Autodesk. I used 3ds Max for most of my works before. For instance, this is 3ds and this as well. Well, the thing is, I really hate 3ds Max. It's buggy. It crashes all the time. It made me lose so much of my life because of the crashes that it has. And I decided to learn XSI because it was getting into the ICE version back then, and I was really excited about it. And then Autodesk went out and bought it. And they bought Maya, and they bought Naiad, and they bought everything. And who do I really hate? I don't really hate 3ds Max. I really hate Autodesk. Well, then I realized that any other software that I'm going to try to use, if everyone's going to think the same way, they're going to buy it, and they are going to kill it, and they're going to make me use 3ds Max again. So, and there was a friend of mine using Blender back then, and he told me that Autodesk couldn't really buy Blender because if they did, they are going to have to open source the software, or they're going to have to get in touch with every developer who worked with Blender, and they could make a fork of Blender, and they probably would. So it's much safer for me as a user than using Autodesk. It was a very good example of how dangerous proprietary software is. I'm using a proprietary software. I need it. I depend on it to get money, and then the company decides, no, now you're not going to use this software anymore. You're going to use that software, which it's a lot worse for you. And I have no choice. I have to do what I want. Mm-hmm. And then Blender came along, and after Blender, Linux came along. Blender opened my eye to open source software and how dangerous proprietary software is. Well, I don't know. Just one other thing about the reel. It's this opening. Just you asked about what I think are the good ideas for a reel. And I think the opening is very important in the sense that if you're going to waste a lot of time from the viewer with the opening, it should be one piece in itself. It should be something that you are. I'm not really proud of that, but the point is, it's a simulation. It shows that I can do simulation, I can do compositing, and so on. So it is a piece that I can put in my reel. If I didn't, and I wasn't really sure about that, if I didn't think that it turned out to be good enough, I would just put a small title, a very, very simple title, making it very clear that I'm not working a lot on the opening, that it's just my name, and you shouldn't judge me by the opening. If you do this, you put a long opening, you should make sure that they are going to judge you by that, and it's going to be a good judgment.
That's a good point.
Which I'm not quite sure it turned out like that. But
we were impressed.
What?
I was impressed. I was really impressed by your work.
Well, thanks. Then in the ending, I did like I told right now that I just put some text. I had to put it with a little bit of 3D to make it compatible to the opening. I'm not quite sure if I should have done that. I guess I should have made something simpler. So, I mean, you're going to get judged by everything in your reel. Even the music. The music is a good instance. I don't really love this music. It's just that I choose the most neutral. I don't know if that's right to say like that. Yeah. Music that I would be sure that it's not going to offend anyone. It's not very boring. It doesn't matter if it's a little bit boring as long as no one hates the music. And that's something that I see a lot. People really like that heavy metal band, or I like some classical authors who are very boring, who some people really don't like, and I would like to put it, but I shouldn't. So I think you should put something that you are really sure it's not going to offend anyone, or really I think you should put nothing at all. I think it's better to have a reel without music than if you are not able to find something that you are not sure they are not going to judge you by that. Oh, and it's there is also the problem of copyright of the music. So I use this guy from Incompetech that he allows us to do this kind of thing. But if I couldn't get a music like that, I would probably put nothing at all. Better than put my reel on Vimeo or YouTube or something like that and get it removed or the audio track changed or something like that. And I've seen it happen before. Well, I don't know. I don't know if there is anything else I can say about the reel. Or are there any questions? I don't know.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. Going to 3D art, what were you expecting going in, and afterwards, what are you expecting now?
I'm sorry, I didn't quite understand.
Like going into it, what were you expecting to do, and then like now knowing about it, what do you expect to do like now?
So when you first started doing visual effects and CG work, what did you think you'd be doing as opposed to what you're doing now?
Oh yeah, that's a good problem. I was expecting to do well to make my imagination become reality. Not really. I'm not really talking about art, but being able to create amazing things that you really can't do in real life. I mean, to me, this is the meaning of 3D. To do something incredible that you just can't film or something like that. And it, well, for instance, the chocolate, it's you can do this in real life, but I've been in some studios where they shoot the chocolate and it requires some 40 people, something like that. It's a very, very expensive and complicated stuff. And it's really amazing that I can do this by myself. So I guess it counts as something amazing that you can do in real life. I can do this in real life. I don't have the camera, the anything. I don't have anything that's necessary to do this, or the tsunami, or I don't know, water dragon, fire dragon, something like that. This is what I was expecting with 3D. But as you can see from my reel, most of this stuff are personal. I did it for myself. Unfortunately, when I look at the stuff that I did for the company I work, for instance, I don't even have anything in here because I don't I don't even save them. You end up doing desks and walls and windows and you know, things that people could simply take a picture of with any camera. But for some strange reason, they think that 3D is special for doing not special stuff. And that's what they really pay for. And that's what I end up doing most of the time. Things that I'm never going to be really proud of. Things that no one needs 3D to do. And, well, most small studios, I think, are like that. You're getting into 3D, think that you're going to do something amazing and your imagination is going to go wild, and then you're going to do windows and walls and desks and that. Well, but I have hope that there are places where you can do these kind of things, especially bigger studios or something like that, and that's what I'm aiming for. And that's what I hope to do, because I'm in 3D for the pleasure. And I don't find a lot of pleasure in doing this kind of stuff. Well, I guess that answers the question?
Yes.
Nice. You said
Well,
you're looking to specialize in visual effects. How do you like the setup that they've integrated into Blender, the visual effects, the like the camera tracker and things like that?
Well, the camera tracker is amazing. I've dealt with MinnBUG and other software like that. It's not really as most things in Blender. It's not as complete as specialized softwares, but it's amazing. It's really incredible. It's kind of a dream to be able to do tracking in Blender like that. But that's kind of it, because the particle system, it's kind of a nightmare. It's kind of really dull. I don't know really how to say. You know, there are a lot of things missing, and the tools, they don't integrate very well. You have a particle system which is not going to talk to the fluid system at all. You do one thing in one, and you have to do everything. It's almost like you're really doing this in two separate softwares. For instance, I still keep a version, an older version of Blender here for fluid simulation, because the guy who created the fluid system, Niels Ture, I don't know how to say his name, he didn't work on that anymore, and no one's able to do anything with it. So there is no communication between the tools of his work with the tools of someone else's work. Well, and in the end, I think that for more specialized visual effects, I'm going to need Houdini or something like that. So I guess in the future, I'm not going to drop Blender. I'm going to try to integrate stuff that I see that I can do in Houdini in Blender, but I know that right now it has a lot of limitations, especially in the particle system. I was really hoping that Tears of Steel would solve those problems, but they didn't really touch anything in the particle systems. I mean, it was supposed to be about special effects, and I thought, how can you do a software with special effects without particles? Well,
they're making the next project is going to be an open movie, like a full-length movie. So maybe they'll improve the visual effects for that as they get working out.
A full life.
Yeah, what I've read is that it's going to be a full-length movie with special effects. But what they're going to do is they're going to split it into chunks, and it will be worked on all around the world and not just at the. That's what I read.
That's a little bit crazy, right?
That sounds a little bit crazy, but that's what I read. Forget what fruit they named it after next time.
Well, I hope it's going to work. Well, what?
It should be interesting to see.
Yeah, I hope. Hope it doesn't turn out like I mean, no offense, but Sintel, Big Bug Bunny was amazing because it was simple. Then Sintel, when I heard about what they wanted to do with Sintel, and I thought, no, this is just too much. And there were many complaints about Sintel. And I still think that they went a little bit too far in what they wanted to do. But Tear of Steel was amazing, so yeah, they could do this, and I hope they fix the particle system. If Blender gets a good particle system, and if they get some integration, for instance, the node system, we need to be able to really control the particles with the textures. The shaders, the nodes that we use for the shaders should be able to control the particles somehow. And right now it's very limited. So, well, there is hope then. Well, I don't know. And
yeah. Anybody else? Questions? Yeah. Well, thank you very much. We really appreciate you taking the time and waiting for us while we got things working on our end. We appreciate that too.
Oh, no problem. It was a really, really nice opportunity for me. I've never done something like this before, so it's a really nice thing for you people to call me.
Yeah, we really appreciate it. We really like your work, and we're looking forward to kind of following your work, and hope you find what you're looking for.
Well, thank you, and yeah, I'm looking for it, and I'm eventually going to find it.
You will.
So I suppose that's it. And
Thank you.
how do I turn this off? Thank you.
I will end the broadcast. Oh no, wait. Let's see. I can just. I will. Let's see. I will eject you from the Hangout. Nothing personal.
Okay.
We're going to keep on. We're going to keep on broadcasting the rest of the meetup
Okay.
for people who would like to be here but can't physically. We have 2 viewers right now online, so that's pretty cool.
Oh, well, and
Broadcasting, I will just simply eject you, and we say thank you again.
okay, and thank you guys for the opportunity.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, bye.
Nice. Pretty cool. Cool.
I worked out.
Yeah, it's nice to be able to use the hard line. We got a little better video feed maybe than if we used the Wi-Fi. Yeah. So I'm gonna turn off the. Sure. Turn this screen off. Right on. Cool. Well, does everybody, if anybody's not comfortable being broadcast live on the internet, all 2 people watching, just kind of stay out of this area here. Like he's hiding in the corner.
We need to get some cute girls.
Well, go ahead.
Like the parcel system. It's not available in London.
I mean, we got plenty of time left. One of the things, the ideas that we tossed around, and the reason we invited that gentleman was that just to kind of get people brought into MinnBUG maybe a little bit more. Now we have a number of people who come, and this is a reasonable turnout today. So one of the ideas I had was potentially we could put together CG reel, show reel, demo reel, whatever you'd like to call it, for the group. So people could submit, you work on something, so everything is up here. That was like the idea. So anything on how we want to do it would be up if we want to do it at all. If anybody thinks it's a terrible idea, which very well may be, speak up. My initial thoughts were we could do something like people would submit work, submit a couple different things. We plan on like minute and a half, right? Everybody gets a certain amount of time. We could do the very best work at the beginning, beginner stuff at the end, or we could do like, start out with people who are learning Blender. I mean, it's just the idea is to kind of show what kind of work is going on in the group as a whole. And then another potential idea I had the other day was to people submit material. And then as a group, we say, okay, let's see who can put together the best show.
Out of what's submitted.
Out of what's submitted. And so you have access to, and we'd have to work on whatever. I would just say Creative Commons, use one of the Creative Commons copyrights for the stuff. Just like whatever people agree on. And then, there's the material, and see who from the group puts together the best show reel from it. And so that was the thought. So people have thoughts. Does it seem like, I don't even know if we're going to be able to submit anything. Sure. What?
Tire lift, yeah.
The tire lift. I heard about the tire lift. So,
When would you want this to be completed?
well, I figured we'd give people a fair amount of time. One of the thoughts was that there's this Minnesota SIGGRAPH. They have like this like the theater at the end of the year, and essentially people submit their best stuff. And so we could shoot to submit a showreel for that. And that's like in December. But otherwise, I would say just give people till like October. You know, give people a chunk of time, a number of months, 6 months, whatever, to work on their stuff, to really get something polished and nice and how they like it, and then a couple of months to put something together. You know, if we don't get it in for SIGGRAPH, that's fine. But that was my thought. If people have better thoughts, I'm sure you will.
Well, deadlines work for me. If there's no deadline, I won't do it.
There would have to be a deadline. There has to be a deadline, not open. Would not be open, but the actual deadline. You know, you could say, what do you got now? Put together, you know, people submit stuff in the next month or two, and then spend 6 months working on demos. I don't know. I've never put together one, so I don't know how long it would take. I mean, do we constrain what software you can use
I would say
to create the reel?
talk about frame rate, image size.
Right, yeah, we'd have to
Okay.
establish, I would say PNG images, like render up your images, and then put it together.
Size?
I mean, do we use the sequencer like he used? Open shot? Do we? Yeah. So I mean, that's the thing. What do people want to submit?
I would say if you did it, you'd have to have it like start in Blender, but everybody uses different renderers and different post-production stuff and paints it in Photoshop. Because in the real world, that's what everybody does.
Okay.
So to say like only in Blender,
All right.
it's kind of like saying only just weird.
Okay. So it can be created in Blender but rendered in something else?
Yeah. Like you had a bunch of stuff in VRAG that you made in Blender.
Right. Yeah, they're number good free renderers.
And I think you should explain what originally used when you submit it.
Yes.
Kind of
Like
say
he had. That's a good idea.
Would we want to limit it to open source software?
I don't think so.
Me personally, I would only use open source, but I wouldn't like force other people to do that.
Because I don't think V-Ray is
It's
V-Ray.
what you're comfortable
Yeah, for is. Which one is open source? What are the big renderers?
with. As long as you explain what you did with what.
Yeah, they both closed. Yeah, for is both closed.
So you'd want a written story describing the project you're submitting.
All right, I should have been writing that stuff down to begin with. So you agree that you start in Blender but can render in a different renderer?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Not limit it to open source.
Render in whatever.
I just think as long as it's simple, Blender simple.
Yeah.
Use any other software,
Right.
Okay,
and then just like say what you used.
okay.
That might be
But Blender has to be involved somehow.
in some
So if you like model it and then animate it with something else?
Sure,
Okay. Does it need to be
as long as you just
50% in
say-
Blender or just?
as long as you just say what you did, model in Blender,
Okay.
and then whatever,
Okay.
rendered in something else.
So at least some work in Blender?
For
Who's got to touch Blender? Who's got to go through
For it to be
Blender
a
somewhere?
Blender.
For it to be in the Minnesota Blender user group.
Yeah, what
Usually
Well,
it's
what do I say? Like at least some work in Blender, or most work in Blender, half the work in Blender? I mean, 'cause,
some.
you know, if you go in and make a cube and then go play with it and you start sculpting in Sculptris, I mean, it's technically.
Blender.
It's still
Yeah, I don't-
workflow in Blender. Though.
Right.
That's true.
I mean,
It
it's
is a
still
nice
integrating
thing.
with other software or whatever.
Okay. So we'll say some work in Blender, but
I think it's just more important to
If
say
you're
what
hardcore,
work you
use
did
it all.
Blender, what work you did Blender.
other software priority given to all work done. Priority work given to all done and given to all work done in Blender. Let's say what other
How about resolution?
use. Are you want to get
I
technical?
think. Well, I think it makes sense if you're going to combine everything for everything to be the same resolution.
Right.
Just,
So file. So we have to figure out what format.
not necessarily
For
format, but
Okay.
how many pixels.
Resolution.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what do you suggest?
Well,
Resolution.
Use standard default.
I don't know. Yeah.
But if we're rendering it out in PNGs, do we maybe want bigger than 1080? No.
It's a PNG, it's lossless. So you just do 1080
Okay. Do we want to do 1080,
or 720.
or is that too much for
720 might be easier.
720 might be
People are
easier.
doing
Do
really
we-
complex stuff that take a lot.
Do we want to tell people to render out PNGs?
Yeah.
GIFs? Not
I
JPEGs.
always render up
Okay.
PNGs. Even when I'm sending it to other people, that way they have like 1,000 files to download instead of one
720.
file that might break in download.
PNG. Now I know
It's like
very little about
gigabytes.
rendering. What else do we need to tell people about how to submit?
Send
PNG,
it one
8-bit.
All right, so
RGB,
RGB,
no alpha.
no alpha.
How many frames a second?
Well, some people are doing projects in 24 and some people are doing projects in 29, for example. 7 and some people are doing projects
Right,
in
just
30.
pick one.
So we need to pick one.
Pick one. Yeah.
Well, technically, like I do projects in both.
Okay.
So I can say, well, I'm eliminating this project entirely, so it's 24
Mhm.
because we paid 30. Because there's like film is 24.
Can we
video is
put
30.
together something that has a variable? Like that, can we say like he does 24 and you do 29? That would work to,
You can usually smash them all together.
okay.
Let's just knock one down then for this demo.
If we're giving people like 6 months, then we can.
Yeah.
And
Well,
like-
that's like a do it for the.
Yeah.
Yeah.
29.97? Four?
I would look at this SIG graph. Has
Oh.
anybody ever
Oh,
been
yeah.
there?
Somebody can remember.
I have no idea. And it would make sense to know that before you even start animating.
Oh, so we should go to their site and see what they want
What
with their final output.
And we may not have time.
The Minnesota Electronic Theater.
Oh yeah, that's what it is.
I don't think they specified a frame rate just because people are doing it 24 and people are doing it 30.
Oh, here though, they say
You found it?
minimum size 20 or 1280 by 720, and preferred is 1920 by 1080.
So we prefer 1080.
Well, that's the
Just
Blender
pixel. Oh,
SIG graph.
oh yeah, yeah.
Not the Minnesota Electronic
Sorry.
Theater.
Click and get that out.
Might have it in my emails. But you can combine both types of video into one video. And then later.
Net 2012. Okay. Does it make things more difficult? Or is it not really?
It just makes it like someone
Want to look fuzzy
like
in
the
there.
separate image clips
Okay.
into like a video editor, and then you set each clip to be like 0.03 seconds, and after like get running 30 frames, that would make it like 1 second, so 30 frames would be 1 second. If
Okay.
you set it for like 24 frames, you have to change it from like
Um,
0.03 to like 0.04, 0.05. You can set those for like each individual frame,
Mm.
so it's gonna make it
Keep it easier on her.
Yeah.
editor.
yeah, I mean, especially let's probably just pick a frame rate.
30.
Um,
We'll have too much cost.
if we're giving people plenty of time. Something else?
24 does render faster.
Okay, so
Plus
they're
frames.
right. So their submission deadline last year was November 9th. So if we give people to like the end of September and then we do October, or how long?
Yeah, October, let's say October 1st.
A month is enough to.
Start editing
Edit?
on October 1st. Yeah. It's not gonna be that much.
I don't know how many people are actually going to take us up on that, but
That's gotta be in by October 1st. And it's been October 2nd. Do we want audio?
that's a good question too.
If you're doing a demo reel in general, you don't want each individual submission.
Oh yeah, no, each submission wouldn't have audio. No, we'd have to like if we want audio, we'd have to pick. Well, whoever's doing the showreel would pick. If you're editing the showreel, sure, knock yourself out. Pick the audio that you like. That works, or no audio at all. I would say leave that up to the person who wants to do the edit. There we go. So you found like details about it?
do what you're saying.
We're looking.
Okay, because I said the 2012 is met2012.org,
Right.
Like,
but I don't find. I found the invite, the submission deadline.
blows fast.
Well, I could email it was Josh Purple was the fellow who came from Sitman, so I'll just email him and say, listen, we're thinking about doing this. What are your 23? Because they're probably working. Okay, so far I have 2 rules. Some work in Blender. You have to say what software used. Renders in 720, but we'll leave that variable for now.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. 1080
Okay.
by 720.
I would say let's set it. It's just because
Whatever
they
they
say.
say.
I would say whatever they say is their preferred. We say that's what you do.
Right.
Because I don't want somebody submitting 720 and the other person submitting 1080. That's great. We're gonna do it in 1080. We can always.
If you don't listen to the rules, you may be.
We'll send it back.
That's cool.
Hey, like the dude, the speaker said, if you submit something that's really terrible, we'll secretly make fun of it.
Oh no, we will politely critique, constructively critique.
Oh, that's what I meant to say.
We'll tear you into Blender.
Do we think people will submit stuff? Who here would submit for something? Yeah, I would probably submit
I'll
something.
try to.
Yeah, okay. Give you to the end of September, potentially. Yeah? And so, but now, okay. So another thought was, what about like, so for example, what if you code something also? You come up with a new script.
Yeah.
Like you personally.
Yeah.
Get on it. No, but let's say, I mean, I think it would be kind of cool if someone, you know, like, so for example, you spent the time working on the groups thing, you know, add something in Blender to another group and easily, and I liked your solution for it. Let's say you create something like that. It'd be kind of cool to see something like that. Is that feasible if you like did like a screencast or like 30 seconds of like script or something, or is that just silly? You just limit it to
really cool.
What's that?
If it looks really cool, do it.
Yeah. Otherwise, skip it. I mean, you know, it depends on. It might be more work to just get something that actually.
I guess to me, it kind of depends on what the audience is.
Okay.
And I don't know if we've really talked about it.
No, we haven't.
Because, you know, if the audience is to advertise what we talk about in this Blender user group, then sure, I could do something like that. But if the audience is to press people to see you work,
Right.
then
And
I don't think anyone would be impressed by it.
And I think
I would say think of it as a
Blender to
think of it as an advertisement for the group.
yeah, I can add to the group. I mean, because I would like, because there are people doing really cool things with coding, scripting, and there are people doing really cool things in, you know.
like this freeze frame demonstration.
Yeah, that was really cool too. So I wouldn't say I wouldn't want to just limit it, because we do work on a lot of things besides just visual effects and game engine stuff like that, which involves money. So I don't know. It's just, yeah.
Well, I guess it still is with this audience.
Well, if we submit it to the Electronic Theater, they're really about like visual.
Right.
It's supposed to look really cool. I mean, we might not even get
I would say though,
accepted. I would
if
kind of
you
probably
have
would.
something you
Everybody
think should
does.
go in it, add it. I
Okay.
mean, we'll probably have less entries than we will.
Probably. There are
So
37 people signed up for the group space site. And there are a couple of people who come to the meetings who haven't signed up for the group space site, which is okay. There's no pressure on you, man. Get set up.
you
So
just
there-
can't come next week.
But there are a lot of
Yeah,
people
yeah,
doing
right,
some really
right.
cool stuff. There's a fellow who uses Blender for, and then he sends his stuff to CryEngine and does architectural visualization. It's super cool. You know, if people want to submit stuff like that, I mean, I don't know if people would. I mean, it depends on what. I mean, maybe people would be comfortable with like some of their stuff being as a Creative Commons license.
Sure.
I mean, that's another thing we would need to discuss is the licensing of the material, the copyright. But there are a lot of people out there doing cool stuff in Blender in this area who use it. So
So who's our target?
you?
I would say potential
No, no, no.
potential people that are coming to the meeting.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's
Get
that's
them
a good,
interested.
yeah. I like that. And if we come up with something phenomenally awesome, we submit it to the Minnesota Electronic Theater, and they say, "Yep, great."
Sure.
And if they don't, then we've at least had a hard cutoff date.
Then next year we come up with a better one.
We steal all the ideas from everybody else's stuff.
And do it blended.
But will they have to?
So say what you said again for Target. You had a good way of phrasing it.
People that are potentially coming to this meeting.
Potential blender.
So if we're doing a meeting reel, as opposed to the Minnesota Electronic Theater reel, the meeting reel could definitely have more code.
Right.
And cool stuff.
Sure.
Yeah.
To show people that we're learning about Blender, we're not just doing
Right.
superficial visual stuff.
Right.
We're actually getting into the
Yeah.
Oh, I like the superficial stuff. The other stuff.
If that you do that too.
You guys all missed last week. Was it last week? But the movie
Magic Moving Cube. I actually stuck a video on the
Or
internet.
last week. Okay.
Did you? What was
The
it?
one where I was actually rotating moving stuff without my mouse.
Oh, with the hydra. Yeah, that was cool.
So he had Blender popped open and objects were moving in it based on his control.
These two
Right.
like handheld little gyroscopes in them or something like that.
It's like magnetic force. It's just basically the force.
The Jedi. The Jedi. He had his lightsabers out, and he was
Basically, there's like a little Jedi built inside of it.
Kent sat in the back and. Did that come through on the video? Because I know I want to see it.
Yeah.
So do we want to give people more time, or set a cutoff date to submit for that? Yeah.
I think that's fairly good.
Okay, so the final product. I will ask Josh.
Sure.
Where is it going?
Say with the November 9th last was probably similar this year.
But I mean, the deadline for actual work would be like before the October meeting.
Yeah.
So if the October meeting,
Oh, okay. In a month is sufficient for people who've worked in videos? A month would be sufficient for people to put something
Sure.
together?
like it's going to be.
Let's see.
I don't
So
know
I mean,
what
if
it is.
it's
I think
only
it's like
like
less
3
than
minutes.
3 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're getting the footage, and the footage is all in the right format.
Right.
So that's the top 3 things you just basically have to put together.
Okay, so you said 3 minutes or less for the final product, or 3 minutes or less for submissions?
For the entire video editing.
Okay, 3 minutes or less for the final real. So it's another
And
question.
obviously, if you don't want something unreal, don't submit it.
Oh, really? You probably put that in all caps.
Well, I'm not sure about this, but I'm going to put it in there. We're like, that's straight to the real.
That's you remember. So the October is it's a 6th. It's first. October 6th.
Where's all the stuff going to get done?
I can come up with space for it.
Can you?
Probably.
Okay. We have a little, no, not enough space on the grip space side to do that. Especially if we're rendering it out in 1080 and PNG that way. Okay, yeah, you can find some submission, so you'll figure out.
I'll,
To
yeah,
be
I'll try and go out.
For the submissions, how do you want to do it? Do you want to do it like time slots? It's like you can submit something that's 5 seconds,
That's another good question. How?
and then like there's like 5-second slots, and that way more people can like submit more than like one thing.
Mhm.
If it's not like enough, there's like still stuff to use. There's stuff that you don't have to use. Just like but it's like all right, so it's like I know this will be 5 seconds no matter what. So I'll stick it in town. No, that's 5 seconds there that I can use. So just like stick it in there.
I would say submit. however long you want. Well, maybe we'll submit like up to like 1 minute. So let's say you come up with an awesome thing that's a minute long. Maybe a minute's too much.
Well,
No, I don't think so.
No, because then the person putting the reel together would just say, okay, I'm taking 10 seconds of that,
Right.
5 seconds of that,
Yeah.
20 seconds of that, because you know. But his thing with the pouring of the chocolate, it's awesome. You want 5-10 seconds to really kind of get excited about that.
but see it twice because like, yeah,
Chocolate. I know.
chocolate.
Strawberries were so cool.
I think if you really, really
yeah.
feel like you have 5 minutes worth, submit all you can feel it.
Okay.
So say
Again.
maximum of 5 minutes.
5 minutes.
Yeah.
Total. So if you submit a work that is 5 minutes long,
Yeah.
fine. Or if you submit 100 works that are whatever split up in
Don't
smaller
feel bad though if your 5 minutes is chopped down.
into 5 seconds. Okay. So
I've cut a bunch of demo reels for doing video stuff.
Yeah.
And the idea is that I will really only take the biggest, best, brightest moments
yeah.
of anything and then throw those in.
Okay.
Because otherwise, like if it's slow and just in general slow, it's not going to be there.
I would say submit. So let's say you have, 5 things that you want to submit. Put each one into a zip, right? So that they're discrete. Don't submit. Don't render it all out. Just like then we got to go through.
7,000 frames.
Yeah, and then we got to go through and figure out which thing ends where.
Do people, what about like credit? Like his demo reel was all him. So he had. Do we wanna
I
put
would say
any
at the
limits
bottom of
on-
each thing, say, who it's by. Like he did
Right.
with his
Yeah.
how he created it. So what software was used, and then just above it, who it was, and then if we want to do a credit roll at the end or wherever we put up the final product, links to everybody's website, everybody that's submitted. Maybe we could even.
Well, should we say the credits are so for example, let's say John and I both submit something, right? And I have my credit over here and he has his over here. See, it looks kind of weird.
Should we leave the credit placement up to the person putting the reel together?
Yeah,
Or-
that's what I was
right.
thinking of.
Yeah.
Like when you submit the work, like submit it with the RAR or the file, submit it with like a text document saying I'm all this and I render this and that, and then that way when they're putting reel together, they just like use that text and put it inside reel. That way the text will stay consistent for all the frames, rather than it's like one of the frames the text is like really big, it's like 32 by 74, and then the next one it's like really small, it's like 16 pictures, it's like it's really
Right.
consistent.
Yeah. Just leave that to the person putting the reel together to standardize that.
And if you could have a form that has standard questions,
Okay.
like name, software,
Desired contact information. You want to put your email or a website or something.
yeah.
What else?
Yeah, I think that's a lot to.
Well,
Well, contact would be like at the end.
Yeah.
Just on the reel, we put the name
Yeah.
and the software.
Yeah. Just so
Or
who's ever editing it can copy paste. Because having to
Right.
type names out is not a good thing.
Right. So text, I like that, just a TXT file. Yeah. Okay. Any other information that we
now, if you want to do a flying logo that's your company or whatever, that's fine too. But I was just saying in general, it's kind of goofy to have
Right.
somebody's
Well, if you submit a flying logo, that's your submission.
right. But I'm just saying, don't feel like you can't do that if you want.
Right. Just don't put in white letters at the bottom of the thing.
Yeah.
Well, actually, that's probably a good point.
You have your logo with your logo at the bottom. We all know what it is.
A maximum to the number of submissions.
Might not be if they're a logo, it might be a little bit unique.
Yeah, that's fine.
And that's going to be a problem too. It's going to you have to be able to.
Right.
The copyright is like, so if you do something for Nike, and you're going to need their permission. So if you work for a company and you work for Lyft, you do work for Lyft and Store, you're going to need their permission. So copyright. Let's talk copyright. Do we want to reserve all copyright? Do we want to do anything Creative Commons or?
All original content.
I don't think, just because of the work that I do, I wouldn't want to say this is not Creative Commons and anybody can just take my work and do stuff with it. But I would be able to say with this group, you can take this and put it on the reel.
Okay,
That makes sense.
Yeah.
I'm thinking final product. I'm thinking final product. Start there. Full copyright reserved. You want to?
Pretty much.
Okay.
Yeah, because just the way clients work and everything, you can never say like, oh, here's this work that I do. It's not getting put on some kids.
And then people might feel more comfortable submitting stuff. Yeah, don't worry about whatever licenses we may or may not be using.
Right.
There are so many Creative Commons. Okay, so full copyright. Okay, well that's easy enough. That takes care of everything. And we'll tell people that work that gets submitted won't be distributed except in the demo. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of like the idea of just letting people put stuff together, because if someone decides they only want the very best stuff, they put together one of just the very best stuff. If someone else decides, I want to start with like the beginner stuff, people who are just starting with Blender, this is people in MinnBUG just starting with Blender, this is what they're working with. People who are kind of halfway, people feel they're expert and kind of, or flip it around to do the best stuff first, but I don't know. So,
Or I could just do mine.
or if Paul puts this together, he's like, I am Iron Man. And then, so then, so then let's say 6 people grab this stuff, and they put together, we have 6 different showreels at the end, which I think may be optimistic. Maybe not. Do we want to vote on what is like the best, get submitted as a final product if we do say the Minnesota Electronic Theater?
It'd be better than voting on the worst one.
So
It might be. We go and kick them in the shins, but
I think we could vote on it, but at the same time, like,
Jeffrey's
let's say there's 2 of them that are really good.
Mhm.
Those 2 want to collaborate with merge
super
those things,
awesome.
You know,
Feel like Voltron.
Buying the reels.
I don't,
Okay.
I would say, so if we had like a month to do the reel, then once we have the reels, decide how we're going to, or do we want to do a combination? Do we just want to pick the one? And, I don't know.
Okay. So leave. Because we probably really should only submit one thing.
Right.
To SIGGRAPH.
Yeah.
And so we'll just leave how we decide the final thing to the end? Or?
I don't know. Or we could just vote. I don't
If they're using audio,
Vote one for user group demo and one for the theater demo.
Oh.
Maybe 2.
Oh, that's a good idea. Because people do 2 different.
Sure. Yeah.
Oh, that's an interesting.
Could end up being the same.
It could end up. Does that seem like a good idea? Just because I thought.
Yeah, and when we vote, we actually talk about it and say why you're voting, or you're voting.
Yeah.
And if it's just because you hate the music, that's just music.
And if we only get one, it's really easy to vote.
And if it's all just Paul sitting there playing, smashing cubes at tofu, well, actually, that'd be like kind of avant-garde submission to them. A video of you doing that.
That makes a difference if that's his.
Okay. I'll contact Josh. And I will see what he says, and then I will put up a document on the group space site and send an email with a link to it that says, you know what? I'll send out the list and people can comment on that. Well, I'll send out the rules and people can comment on that, and we can decide if what I've written down, because it's not necessarily what I've written down is what necessarily people think they've agreed here today. So I will send it out and people can put comments.
Right.
Put it as like a Google
Yeah,
Doc or something.
Yeah.
Yeah?
I was gonna say it'd be useful for people to talk about what they're gonna do too on the forum. You know,
Okay.
if you're working on something for it, hey, share your idea. And,
Okay. I wish the forums on the group space site were better. They are. I can't move things, so I can't like. I can create new folders, but if someone's like just put up a post somewhere, I can't move it. You're annoying. And I email them, and they're like, "Oh, but we have our listserv lists," and I'm like, "People still use email lists? What? I want a forum. I don't want to email 6,000 different what?" And they were like, "This was their solution." That's another thing. If we're going to put together something like this, is the group space site, I mean, it might be nice to talk about it. Is the group space site sufficient? Are there any other... I looked into Google Groups, but it doesn't
doesn't work.
It doesn't really cover it. It's really more for like chat discussions about a certain thing. You might be able to cobble things together from here and there, but
For the price of a URL, just getting a website name, you can get free hosting with no ads. I know there's a bunch of free web hosting companies now. They basically give you like a limited package. You get like 1.5 gigs, a lot of bandwidth, both ways, but like basically no storage space, limited FTP.
Do you have
you do?
I have unlimited domain hosting. I'll keep forever.
Okay. So we need.
So we bought a domain name. Everybody chips in $1. We bought a domain name for a year.
And then we start dealing with people's money. That was always my concern, because that's why I just did the free thing, simple free thing, because it's like I want to charge people for this or charge people for that, and then we would need someone to create a website and maintain it.
Well, I pay $6 a month for hosting. It's not even that expensive, and that domain.
What for that?
I use HostGator.
So
I could keep up a domain too. I'll pay the $10 a year.
All right.
It's 10, but I suppose it is 10 bucks a year. Every year, someone volunteers to keep $10.
anybody who's like learned something worth $10 in the budget.
I mean, I like home.
Then we become a little more. Then we become a little more official, because at this point, I'm running the group, but I'm not taking anybody's money. I mean, there's the group space site, but if tomorrow I were to up and die, y'all would have no problem just keeping on without me. Got a room. Kent's got the room. Kent's gonna live a lot longer than I am.
So
I think that's a great idea, and it's a really nice offer.
if we have the website, I can put up a forum. I can put up. I think all we really want is a forum.
A forum. It would be nice to have a forum,
and then like an announcement board.
an announcement board, and a way to email it,
I mean, just
and a space for people to have up their work. That's one of the nice things about the group space page. We have like 500 megabytes worth of space. This is not much.
Sure.
With HostGator, is it like a 60 gig cap, or do they give you unlimited?
It's unlimited. As I say unlimited, but
It's on.
there's a limit.
Unlimited, but probably like a share.
It's a shared server.
Yeah, so it's shared. So even though it says unlimited, it's unlimited based off everyone sharing. So it is limited. So if you're
I mean, we're not going to.
We're not gonna be paying.
right, supposedly, but if you're like calling out all the traffic, we have an issue here. Economic traffic, and we don't like that.
I don't think we're gonna suck that much.
Right.
No, I don't.
Pretty sure.
Just don't.
That.
Got a Vimeo account. You want to use that?
Yeah. Well, I think with Vimeo we can just establish a
Do a free
like
account.
you don't necessarily, because like I was gonna do a Google, like with Google I was gonna set up an account to do this just for MinnBUG, but you need to be a real person. Like I could lie and pretend to be a fake person, but they expect you to be a real person for it, which was
I
fun.
set up one. We actually have a YouTube channel for the group now, and I think it's Minnesota Blender is the name.
Okay. But you did that through your account.
I did that by making a new account.
Oh.
So there's like a new account and email and Gmail
And it's a person.
all that stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, the person is Minnesota Blender. And I don't think they actually believe that a company is going to sign up and be like, the CEO is going to be like, I'm the CEO here in this company.
Well, I think they expect if you're a company signing up that you pay them for, you start paying Google for their services.
That's a different thing, actually.
Okay.
Like,
Well, if you set one up and it's just like in a group name, that's cool.
so that is set up, so that's there.
So we'll use that from, and I'll
Like,
when video comes off of this, we'll just send it there.
I can give you the email,
Yeah.
that actual email, and then you would actually just be able to make a little email list on that Google email,
Okay.
and then send to this contact list for free. That works. Or if you want more of the official mailing list program,
Oh, I see.
MailChimp has like up to 500 users for free.
Okay.
So I can set that up for you.
Okay.
And with the forum, like you'd be able to have an announcements place, you'd be able to have a gallery place, you'd be able to have like all links and just
People gonna use this? A couple of people started using the one on group spaces, but it doesn't.
Group Spaces kind of bugged me. It was like,
Yeah.
it felt like it was trying to restrict me instead of letting people.
Just let me access it on Google Chrome at one point.
Really?
Yeah, like just clicking it, it would just take me to the homepage of Group Spaces. Then you click and sign in to the homepage of Group Spaces. I don't know what to do with it. To open up and I just put it in front of
Well, if we-
it was really weird at one point.
If we're becoming a little more formal and there's official websites and hosting involved, do we want to have like a formal leadership here? Do we want to elect people, or are we happy with the situation? Because I started this group because I wanted people to talk to. I don't care who runs it. I really don't. I like coming and talking to people and see, learning stuff, Python and all sorts of the cool stuff. So I don't necessarily need to run.
I think it's
Because Paul does half the stuff.
I think you're doing.
Paul does 90% of the stuff. I don't know.
Yeah.
93.
I make it look like stuff, and that's just like a blunder.
We want to do something like that or not? Worry about it. Just-
I say we don't bother.
Okay. Do we want to set up? We want to pick him up on his offer?
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, and just so other people know, the group spaces is reaching a limit of number of users.
Yeah, we can have up to 50 users, and every time it hits Blender Nation, which isn't. I mean, I submitted early this week, and I know he's doing like 1,000 different things, so he can't always keep up with all the stuff that he gets submitted. But sometimes, same day I submitted, he's like, "Yep, I'm sending up, ready to go," and then sometimes he just doesn't have a chance, and that's fine. It's a cool service. I'm certainly not going to complain about if you can't get to it in time. That's not. But yeah, we have up to 50, and we got 37 or 38 right now. So eventually, we're going to run out of users in their space. I mean, maybe we found all 37 people, but I suspect people every so often start popping up using Blender. And maybe now we'll get a lot of people using Blender.
I know a bunch more people aren't using Blender on here.
Okay.
Not many people trying to learn, but they're just like, I hate this interface.
I got to tell you, people complain about the interface.
I
Good
was-
Lord, you started with 2.4, 2.5. It's like, woohoo, best thing ever. The buttons make sense. I don't know. It's like they used to have buttons and be like this does, and it was like they just randomly type letters.
I didn't like the interface at first because I was first 3D software I used was 3ds Max. So I got used to that interface.
Yeah.
And switching it to Blender, it's not QWER anymore. It's G.
Yeah. Oh, the hotkeys. Yeah. Your muscle memory is like.
Nothing works.
Well, and then you start using something else besides Blender, and like, what do you mean G doesn't make it go? G means
Right.
go.
I went back to
get or whatever it
Max.
is.
I was like, right click. I was like, oh, it's not right click.
All right,
It's
let's
left click.
let's talk. You and me, you, and if you're gonna get us some space for, we'll put together something. And if anybody else wants to have input on the website, please.
Yeah.
Please. I want to look. We'll just maybe we can talk about that next time.
Also,
too.
with Google Hangout versus Justin TV.
Yeah.
I think Google Hangout works, so we're supposed to split that.
I was pretty happy. You're right. You can't chat if it's on on-air Hangout. You can't chat in the Hangout, but you can chat. You can submit comments in the YouTube channel.
That's probably
And that's
fine.
where people
We can lock the Hangout down to just us and the presenter.
Yeah.
And then in the YouTube chat,
Okay.
everybody else.
And it worked well. It worked well with these computers. I like being able to run it directly through a hard line. I think we get better. I think the video comes out better. And his came through pretty well. Yeah, it's not. I have to learn with the buttons. I can learn with the buttons on this side too. Thank goodness you came, Zach, because I was like, he was like, we're screen sharing. And he's like, the green screen. You'd be coming every time, right? So you can give us the technical direction. Okay, cool. Okay. Other stuff. Cool. Thank you. That's good stuff. That'll be cool. It'll be nice to have like a good domain. I mean, I'll chip in a couple bucks too. Yeah, it's $10. Okay.
I pay for the hosting anyway, so it's not.
I'll bring donuts. How's that? All right. And there you go.
You said something about a Skype group.
Yeah, because well, that was like the alternative before you get talking about like the website stuff. Because you just like set up a group chat with Skype and you just like invite like people and just type it. I'm gonna do this while I'm working on that, or I've done this, and you just like throw it up, just like download.
I think that would be a cool idea. If people have ever done a Skype group, like if you don't get how to do it, it might bother you because you keep randomly typing.
Oh, right.
But you can say you're away, and then it doesn't bug you anymore. Basically, it's like a big group chat, kind of like an IRC channel.
Okay.
But
But it's a text chat.
It's text, or if you want to do voice, you can. But for just text, you can easily ask people, "Hey, I'm doing this in Blender. Does anybody know how to make the IK chain work?" Or whatever your question is, and somebody on there might see it as, "I feel pity on you. Here's how to do it." And then you can like.
Here's how you're supposed to.
Yeah.
You should
So does that? So is it like someone's user account and then people join on there, or is there like is it like Google Circles where everybody's kind of like a little circle kind of something?
It's just like kind of like a Crusader, and they just like.
Okay.
I think it's pretty open. Like, I don't know if there's an admin if it's just right up here.
The admin just like allows people in.
Because that could be really cool. Because one of the things you talked about early on was separate from the meeting. If people wanted to have a chat or a video chat or a text chat, you know, you could set. People could independently of the face-to-face meetings. People could set up saying, you know, I want to chat, do a Skype, whatever. I want people to help me with, you know, or I'm giving help at this date and this time, and people can join up separately. And if that could be integrated with the website, that would be phenomenal.
Didn't we run into like a user limit on this?
10. For what, Skype?
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. We did one of those long time.
I don't know. That's a channel.
I think there's a 10 user video or voice chat
Gotcha.
limit. But for the chat
If you're
groups,
yourself,
you can have as many people
Right.
as you want.
And if with it, it's like you're like, oh, I need help with this. Someone says, oh, I can help you with that. You just like don't click on them and just talk to them alone, like outside the chat,
Right.
because they're willing to help you. So you can just like do like in the group, like you guys.
I really like this idea. Let's first get the website set up. We'll get a forum set up, things like that set up, and then we'll kind of integrate that.
Sure. And there's
Just to get one thing done at a time.
Right.
To get the basics down, a space for people to submit for the show reel, and then
URL.
And you can definitely experiment with it and
MinnBUG.org.
try it out too.
Just
Once the website
we can
will
put
be
the we
official.
can easily put the Skype group up anytime.
Yeah.
It takes like 2 clicks.
okay. So that's not.
You
Is that something we can integrate with the website at all, or is that not?
Send out an invite.
Well, like with the website, you can just have like your Skype page there, and then just add as contact.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
Because the nice thing with the
that's the closest way to integrate it.
Because the nice thing with the Google Hangouts is that you can embed that video on the website.
Mhm.
And so it's like a one-stop shopping for people to come and drive traffic to the website, rather than sending people to here, then to there, then to this, then to that. Yeah, that would be ideal for the website, where we don't have to screw around with group space anymore. We don't have to screw around with, we do have Google Hangouts, but if we want people want to watch the meeting, they know where to go. There's no messing around with it. I mean, that would be kind of nice if like the Skype chat could run somehow. I don't know.
I think the Skype chat can be mentioned on the website, but it's more like a one-to-one thing.
Oh, it is.
I have a question, and it's 3 a.m. in the morning, and one other person with K is going to answer it.
Okay.
We're not going to stream that.
So that's more informal. So it's like people can just set up one of those at any time. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, yeah. That's.
And it'd be cool to keep people connected because I know I can probably answer everybody's question, not everybody's question, but a lot of questions faster than it would take for somebody to search the internet and try to figure out.
Yeah, I mean that would be a phenomenal way to really bring people together. That was one of like the ideals early on, to keep people connected outside of the group. Because I like coming, I like the face-to-face.
Right. So do any of the people use the IRC channels that are for Blender at all?
I've never.
It
sounds scary.
One spot that was really confusing. I didn't really.
I didn't.
No, it's not very what user friendly.
No, it's older technology, and
That's kind of what I thought. There was
you
something.
said it's probably not the right group.
No.
The coding group uses it.
Okay. And they're having
There's a clue.
They're running through the terminal and everybody's.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
But there are a lot of people that show up on Blender.
There's like 200 people that's usually in the Blender IRC channel.
So why do you mention that? What would that?
Well, it's like the Skype thing.
Oh, okay. Oh.
I was just so I'm on IRC
I mean, it
all
takes
the
30
time.
seconds to set it in one up.
Right.
Okay.
Check.
Yeah. So we could easily do that,
I
but
don't
at the
think
same
anybody
time,
uses IRC here.
No.
Except for this
Exactly.
programmers.
right.
So,
Okay.
I think more people
And
use
maybe there are people out there who use it.
I think I've done IRC chat like a couple times, but it's just.
I mean, if you want to follow MinnBUG or talk to any of its programmers that actually like handle fun,
Right.
Brett, they're all in IRC.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, maybe that's a resource we could
But
provide
like I said,
through the website.
I
Say,
can show you what it looks like if you want to see it. It's not, there's
Okay.
nothing too exciting.
well, no,
But
if it's not that.
after we're done.
Yeah. That's... Okay, so we'll talk about setting stuff up. Yeah, I mean, MinnBUG.org.
Yeah, that's available.
Yeah.
Who the hell is like that?
Minnesota Bugs Society.
Oh yeah, those.
Fight them.
It is not. Oh wait.
Sell it for like 20,000.
Probably make sure the .com's available too. Probably just register both of those.
Yeah.
Somebody doesn't like the .com.
So
That's how we know we've hit the big time. Somebody spoofs the Minnesota Blender user group.
I'm not smart enough to do that.
That doesn't seem to be taken either. Let me see how many people are watching the feed right now. Getting ready to prank us. Who signed in on this one?
I think it was one of the blind scissors.
I know the password.
You got the password, John, or no? The sheet's right there.
I can't get the screen to turn back on.
I know the password. It's UB3987W.
Do I have to talk nicely to it or something? Here?
It's using display portable.
Oh, it's a projected. It's on the projector. Oh,
Wasn't it showing up down here?
Oh yeah, it was.
Jesus. You reckon that you were okay?
Let's see.
Oh no, I see a mouse. Okay, here we go.
There you go. Stupid typing. What I did. There are 100 people trying to use that computer right now. Well, the light's on, so it's still recording.
It's connected. I think this computer is spying on it. Like a portal backwards in time.
Your latest meeting.
But it's like
Does it get more or less exciting now?
We done do everything we did. Your letters are
Anything else?
You had a question.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got a question here.
Is it related to what we've been talking about, or is it different? All right. Anybody have anything related to what we've been talking about? Are we pretty much happy, kosher? Everybody's set with that? Ideas? Something else you want to say?
Are you just gonna email everybody and then we're gonna connect from there?
In terms of setting up the website?
Yeah. Good. All that sort of stuff.
I'll tell you what. So there's less cooks in the soup. If you're gonna, are you gonna set up the website? Is that what you
I
volunteered to
can
do?
set up.
You can set up website stuff.
Release the form. Like I've done
Okay.
a lot of websites and a lot of forms.
So that's
We don't even need a homepage to start with this.
Just need the form.
okay. All right. Well, why don't you get your actually get it set
I
up
can
and,
get the domains and set
Get
up
the domains set
VPN
up.
access.
and then
I gotta get both of them for your.
yeah. Okay. And then we'll set up the forum, and then we'll build off it from there. Because it'd be nice to have like a gallery.
Yeah.
It'd be nice if we could set up an individual page for everybody.
You can easily do that.
Yeah.
Form, like start a thread. You say,
Well, what would be nice is if they were like, why am I calling my name? It would be nice if they were, I mean, because my idea would be like, you come in, MinnBUG page, button for forum, button for user pages. You know, so that like, so you can go into the forums and it's, you know where your forums are. You go into like, everybody has like a, you know, or is that, because I don't know. My websites are set up through Weebly and it's all WYSIWYG stuff.
if you do it through the forum,
Yeah.
I think that would probably work. Because then you could just have a forum section that says like, user pages or gallery.
Okay.
And then in that you'd click and you click on user. Then their posts and they could randomly post all of the random things.
Okay. So would it be able to? Okay, so each person would then be responsible for setting up their own thread?
Yeah. And then they can manage it and whatever they want.
I would start with that eventually.
Yeah.
It could expand.
But it's all in the forum and it's all in one place and it's all the same thing for everything. And you don't have to give people like different permissions.
Oh.
You don't have to be the administrator and you don't have to set up all pages. Everybody
Okay.
can just do it as they see fit.
Okay. Okay. All right. Yeah, that's fine with me. Fine with me. We'll run with that and see what happens. We'll work from there. Okay. Cool. Thank you. Well, thank you everybody for the input. Appreciate it.
I don't know. I went to lunch. It looks like it's still here, but I can't get to it. So.
Let's see. Is it running still? Did you look and see? Are we still live? Because that's what I was just looking at. But
Yes.
I'm through the thing here in Slip. Yeah.
Wait, Lucy, you walked by.
Wow. It's like a 10-second
There we
delay.
go.
Yeah.
That's fun. Is that on purpose in case people start cursing up a storm?
Wow.
It's because there's.
Okay. I can't watch myself though. I cannot watch myself. All right.
It's also creepy because it's like 10 seconds ago and you're like, wait a minute, I just did that.
Yeah.
Where is that?
Cool. Thank you. Anything else? Otherwise, we're open to whatever y'all want to do. If you've got questions, yeah.
Yeah, I have a question about rendering. I created a real simple video here. I've created a world. It has a shade, changing the shading from a dark purple to a nice background. And I rendered it. Made a simple example. Rendered it. And made it, gave it a fade to black. So there's a couple problems. You can see the striations in here. You see right here. You see the striations?
Oh, that the gradations of color aren't.
Yeah. it should be a smooth, and when
Should
I
be a
render the PNG images, those are nice and smooth, but when I turn it into a video format, a compressed video format, he ends up with this striations, which are weird.
Video compression can do that because it's trying to save bandwidth as well. It looks like these colors are similar, so we'll just cut out half the colors.
Right.
How do when I picked the criteria for this thing, the parameters, I thought I was setting up like Blu-ray quality. I picked 24 frames.
What eventually are you trying to do with this?
Get Blu-ray quality. I don't know what to do.
I mean,
That's actually another one of my questions.
Oh, you're just experimenting.
What should I be shooting for when I do all these animations?
Well, one of the things we talked about was that like what we're talking about for the showreel was that you should render everything out as each frame is an individual PNG lossless file.
Right.
That would solve that radiation issue, right?
Right, until you...
Depending on the quality of the PNG.
Right.
If you
well
set it to high compression, then it's going to...
Oh.
When I do that, I rendered it out as PNG files, a whole bunch of them.
Okay.
And then when I turn that into a compressed image, it did this business to it. The PNGs were perfect.
Gotcha.
The compressed image does this strange stuff to it.
Mm-hmm.
Also, when you see it fade to black, it's a real crummy looking fade to black. Look at this fade to black. See that?
What are you trying for?
Just a nice fade to black. So what it's going for.
A fade to black, you can actually just do that inside a video editor, and I'm pretty sure it'll be.
I used the video sequence editor to do that. Let's see. You see how crummy this fade to black is? It looks kind of striated.
Yeah, I think that's the video format.
Really?
What format were you trying to render it in?
I'll show you what I did. It was, I thought it was like high quality. It was the dimensions. Let's see, I picked one of their presets off of here, HDTV 1080p. I thought that was good quality. And then down here for the output, I picked H.264, which I thought was Blu-ray quality.
Well, there's a ton of settings in every codec, like literally hundreds of settings.
Yeah, I think it's like
And to render
Yeah, I thought ABI was lossless.
API is a container format, so it's got like 1,000 different video formats inside API. And each of them has like hundreds of different settings. And it's
What should I be using?
it depends on what exactly you're doing. I usually never use Blender to finish anything because I have other programs with proper compression and proper codecs and proper setups that I do for all my target exports.
Really?
But you can see that the fellow who talked to us today, he did his CG reel in Blender, and it's really nice.
Oh, that
He said he
amazing.
did
I didn't know you
Blender
could do
with
that.
but it's an open shot.
Right, to get but he did an open shot to get the audio on it. That's why he used open
But
shot.
The codec.
He
And,
actually
Oh,
used the
that's
codec.
right.
Yeah.
But the codec was the audio codec that he was having the problem with. He said he was really
wasn't
happy.
sure about Blender's audio export capabilities.
Right.
So I think what he said is he kicked out a PNG sequence and brought that into OpenShot.
Okay.
He said he also used Handbrake, which is another compression utility
Right.
that does a lot of stuff. So if you really want to know how to do it, you're going to have to go on the internet and like search how should I compress a video to be Blu-ray quality, because there's literally hundreds of codecs on this list.
Okay.
That's a mess. I usually keep one
So-
uncompressed copy with a special lossless compressed version, and I'll do my internet target exports for video and YouTube. Keep those online.
And even though he said, this is a simple scheme, this is pretty much the one that is going to have the most compression artifacts because you're doing the simple blend from, it's using all these thousands of colors. And
Right, and so what it does when it compresses it, it only gives you
Right.
it gives you bands because it says, okay, we don't want as many colors. I can't use 16 million colors. I can use 40,000 or whatever. And so it only gives you that selection, and so it picks out only some of those colors originally, which is what it did originally. except there were so many of them, your eye couldn't tell the difference.
Wow.
Just try cranking
So how was that
upwards.
simple answer for you?
Yeah, really.
Simple question, simple answer.
I mean, I'm wondering, I'm doing a bunch of animations that I want to be able to hit the Blu-ray market eventually. But there may be other byproducts from it, who knows, YouTube, I don't know what. But I'm wondering what format should I be shooting for so that I can switch to these other formats.
So to really answer your question, you would want to burn it to a DVD and play it on what you're looking at, and actually see if you can see those bands.
Probably run on NTSC
Yeah.
TV.
What was that?
NTSC. Got what the acronym stands for.
Oh, that's regular American television.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But totally what said that way. Pretty sure no one in America owns it.
Yeah, nobody uses PAL.
Well, use PAL over in
Europe.
Right.
Well, I shouldn't say everybody in Europe is nobody. That was not my intention.
But,
Nobody here uses
so
it.
if your target's going to be using a computer, then look at it on the computer. Otherwise, if you're actually going for a DVD,
I'm thinking Blu-ray disc.
right? Well,
Blu-ray
So-
is really difficult to work with. I did a little bit of that in my previous job. We were doing video editing, and they have their own requirements. Like they have specific codecs and everything that you have to go to. So what you should normally do is probably export like uncompressed from Blender, and then in a video editor, you'd be like he was saying, you were gonna edit in the video editor and then export it for each of your purposes separately. And I don't think there's any open source software that can export Blu-ray discs. You can do DVDs and stuff, but Blu-ray has a lot of proprietary protections in it.
I think you can get a non-encoded Blu-ray disc or like a non-cryptographed Blu-ray disc out from some programs, but unless you know exactly what you're doing, chances are you're not good.
sure.
So it's a giant mess. And like I could tell you numbers and
Sure.
stuff and be like, set the VBR, CDR, set the bandwidth to like 1900 kilobits per second, set your audio to blah 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 blah. But if you miss one step or if I was wrong in saying it, then it's tough.
So it's best to keep it in lossless format somewhere.
Keep it in lossless as long as you possibly can.
Okay.
And then
So keeping the PNG files, that's pretty straightforward, but some of what I'm doing requires some sequence editing, such as I'm taking sequences and reversing them in time, playing them backwards.
You can still do that.
Right. But it just
I can do that in the video sequence editor, it does it for me,
Mhm.
but if I'm saving it as the PNG files, then that information is not stored except in the sequence. I have to renumber them. somehow.
When you render in the sequencer, you can say that, oh, click PNG again. And it will.
Render a PNG to a PNG.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Kind of confusing, but
Maybe that's the way
Yeah,
it
it's more confusing, but it gives you more options.
right.
Right?
Okay.
So the more options you get, the more difficult it's going to become to keep track of all your files.
Use lots of directories.
Yeah.
Yeah.
give them fun.
This
Okay.
is the version that's running forward. This is running backwards.
So I can do all the fancy video sequence editing stuff, just save it to PNG files, any of them, and I got it. At least losslessly.
Are you working on something specific?
Yeah, I'm working on a bunch of educational videos,
that's
short
right.
animations, about 10, 20
Yeah.
but there'll be a lot of them.
And just to make it more complicated, I've seen it where you're looking at it on the screen and it looks like there's bandwidth, but the finished project's just fine. It's the video card.
Okay.
So just be aware of that too.
Thank you.
When you talk about the compression of PNG, or the standard, the default is 8 or 9.
Right. I don't know, but you can definitely adjust that, and that will make a difference.
Are you sure?
No, PNG is always lossless. It's just basically the time it takes the computer to show the image you got. It's effective. But but it doesn't get artifacts.
Oh, okay. All right.
I've
So
never.
what are those? What's that number for?
That's like bringing down the file size, but making the computer have to work harder when it shows it back to you. Like if the computer is really slow and you're trying to navigate through these, it might be because you set too high of a compression.
It's like zipping it inside of the PNG.
Yeah, it's lossless compression, but it's like an algorithm where the computer has to kind of reconstruct the image without any loss, but based on that compression number.
Is it like the
So if you
Python
said 0,
interpreter
it'd
as
be
opposed to
really high
compiling
file
a program?
sizes, but your computer would be able to show them instantly.
Bad metaphor.
But if you said 9, the computer just has to do a little bit more work to show it. But I've always used the highest compression. Computers are so fast that I don't think that would be a problem.
The highest 10.
I think generally goes to 10.
The next version goes up to 11.
Cool. Well, we can make this more confusing and talk about color spaces.
Yeah.
Oh,
No.
What are colors?
Someone in here gets a choice to choose.
What's up? I'm sorry.
Someone here gets a choice to choose 8-bit color or 16-bit color.
Always want to do 8-bit, unless you are trying to do some crazy thing and you know you need 16-bit.
Why? Why?
16-bit is for high dynamic range stuff where you get way brighter light highlights.
Right. So the difference is, so you can't view a 16-bit image on a display.
I can't.
No,
You can't.
right. You can't see
You can't
all
see it.
the different colors.
Does it just give you a higher range of
So,
colors?
like,
Is that what the idea is?
it gives you extra precision. So you
Right.
might not see that this is a different color black than the pixel next to it.
Right. But
And
it
you can adjust the exposure. So think of it kind of like, this is a bad picture, but so here's the full range, right? Your image is only going like something like this. You can slide this window around, but you can't look at everything. So, make sense?
So like if you take a picture of the sun and there's a cave in it, if you have a 64-bit image, you'll be able to see detail in the cave and detail in the sun. If you have an 8-bit image, it won't be white.
Right.
So since you're working in 3D, you have the ability to set the lights and adjust all the color to work inside of an 8-bit image. So you can always go with 8-bit.
Well, who uses the higher bits then?
People that are adjusted. So like let's say you film something and you decide it's too dark. If you're using an 8-bit image, when you brighten up everything, you're actually, so if I'm in a 16-bit image, I can slide this window around a little bit because I have room. When I don't have room and I'm just dealing with this box, when I slide the box this way, what happens is everything, so let's say I move it this far, everything in here is made up. It's basically this range just copied over, right?
It just
Does that
gets
kind of
flipped
make
to
sense?
either straight
Yeah.
white or straight
Right,
black.
and I lose all this data too. Is that kind of making sense, or am I not sure that out?
I'm not quite sure about it.
So like you know when you open up the GIMP or something and you click brighten or darken?
Yeah.
Right? So in a 16-bit image, all you're doing is moving the box left or right. And you have room to work with, right? On the GIMP, or sorry, if you're using an 8-bit, then what happens is when you move left, it's just keeping this line and copying it over for all those ranges.
So you're talking
This
about
is
using the
this
curve.
is white, this is black, okay? That'll maybe make it better. So everything in here is registered as white because we didn't actually have it brighter. Does that make sense?
Makes more sense now. So when I like in GIMP and I'm using that curve thing,
Right. Yeah.
I've just got oodles of more information to fiddle with, so it's a smoother gradation here.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
but you can't see everything, right? So your picture's only gonna cover this range, even though you have range out on both sides.
So I could get more information in my shadows and bring those up later on if I wanted to.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
More information, but it's in the computer. It's in the computer. Yeah. As in stored in the file. But for your monitoring image, display it's a precision data. So you won't see it, but say you want to change brightness or something like that at a very fine level, and you're changing something more precision, you can change more fine.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Something that has less precision. That's changed by her. In certain algorithms and images that help to make sure you save that finding. And then you take it back out 8-bit, which you always have to do pretty much every time. It's displayed on a monitor like that. You don't have to throw away that precision even while you're operating on the image. Keep it in the computer, and then on your final result, you have to save it.
It's kind of the opposite of his band issue.
What about frame rate? What frame rate should I be shooting? If I want to hit Blu-ray.
24.
24?
Really, for Blu-ray?
Yeah. Well, all the Blu-ray films are in 24.
Except for The Hobbit.
Yeah.
No, 24.
Is it?
No, that was only filmed in 48.
Blu-rays.
Oh, but the Blu-rays in
Right,
24.
right.
So you
Gotcha.
can watch it.
Sure, yeah.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Because
Right.
of
Yeah,
unheard of corporations.
yeah.
And it's 3D and it would work.
Well, if Blu-ray is 24 frames a second, why would you use 30?
If you want to export as PAL format, they use higher frame rate.
30 used to be the television and DVD standard. So that still plays if you want to run it at 30. So it's
Generally, it doesn't hurt to export it as 30 because when you're going to recompress it down to the other formats, you can change it to TV standard out. Just cut out whichever frames it needs to make it 24.
You get a stuttering effect?
I don't think it's noticeable. There is a little bit because they cut out like every 2/3 frame, so for every. So we don't know whatever.
But if you
Well,
run
the
it,
stuttering would be better going from 30 to 24 than it would be going from 24 to 30.
Yeah, because or else they fill in.
Because
they
then
fill in
some frames get a little get doubled over.
Right.
Like more precision, you put down to something else while you're working on it.
Wow. No idea.
I mean, if these videos were to be transported to Europe somewhere, would they have Blu-ray players over there? Do I just ignore their PAL system altogether, or do I have to?
they have a metric Blu-ray over there.
They usually record them for their standard.
I think Blu-ray is just one standard.
Yeah.
DVD
Is
is
it?
just
Okay.
multi-standard.
Online, and then you don't have to worry about it.
Post them.
Just post them.
Really? Online, you can use pretty much any standard?
Well, I mean, it's, I mean, if the codecs are a lot simpler. I mean, you would use like 264 MP4s or something like that, but anybody can view it anywhere, as opposed to sending someone a Blu-ray in Europe and, they stick it in their toaster or whatever. You can't do anything with it. I don't know. It's just kind of a format that everybody uses. It's the platform that everybody uses on the internet. So.
But you still need one of the standard formats for online.
Right.
Right.
But then everybody can view it once it's up online.
That'd be
Unless-
for online viewing.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it depends on how your audience is going to view what you're creating. If
You
you
don't
like,
really have to worry about all that stuff. Just as long as you're exporting it higher quality than you're going to use, the video editor is going to do export to web and export to DVD.
right.
You just pick which one you want.
I mean, I assumed you were using Blu-ray because you didn't want. I mean, you had someone who had a Blu-ray player, and they needed to be able to use Blu-ray, or you wanted to keep it, locked down or harder to copy. Do you know why you're using Blu-ray? Do you know
Well,
why?
I thought it was like a standard.
Nah.
You know,
Yeah, it's,
It is a standard.
I think more people DVD players. Right?
Yeah, I would agree. More people own DVD, but you're not going to get high definition.
Right.
Is what you get from Blu-ray.
Like when DVD first came out, VCR players were
Yeah.
very
Yeah. I mean, it's going to depend on your audience. If your audience has access to the internet, probably. I mean, and you're looking to distribute around the world. I mean, I'd go with a lot of websites do like video training, and you sign up for it and things like that. But it's all through a certain website, and anybody can access it anywhere, depending on. I mean, not from Iran or whatever. But
okay. And if I went that way, it would be pretty much any format. Would work. And the computers would figure it out and display it.
Yeah, well, if you send something up to YouTube, they take it, they chew it up, and they puke it out in a different format. But
Right.
if they're happy with it, you go.
right, so you can submit to YouTube in a ridiculous amount of different formats.
Yeah.
It's going to depend on how you set up the website, and who sets it up.
There's Vimeo too, that's another thing on
Mhm.
YouTube, but it's more private. And to send them stuff up, and if it's wrong, they'll kick it back, say, you don't get it. Try this. Oh, okay, so you reel it up and send it, and they'll chew it up, and they'll poop it out, so you can watch it on a small screen or a big screen. They take care of all that codec business, and you don't have to be smart about it.
Who's your audience?
Students.
Do you want
Hopefully
this
around
to
the
be
world.
available to anybody or paid?
Yeah.
You want it paid? Or?
Anybody.
So it's going to be a free service or a free thing, or do you want people to be able to pay? Or you want to be able to pay for it?
One way or another, it's not a money-making venture.
Okay.
I don't know whether people end up paying for to receive it.
They're going to be sending out physical discs.
That's what I've been thinking. Physical Blu-ray discs.
Look at
They're
pirate.
telling me just use the internet.
Yeah. I mean, it depends on what people want.
No,
I mean, a lot of people like to, if they don't, like, so for example, there are a lot of Blender tutorials out there. And sometimes people want just the download. So some websites you can get the download and the DVD and like an extra $3. Or just the download and they knock off $3. Or just the DVD and it's just, it's going to depend on what your customers want. If you're paying for it. If you're not paying for it, just put it in Vimeo. Right. Done with it. Yeah. I mean, yeah, exactly. Or use Flatter or something like that, so that people can donate voluntarily if they like what you're doing. Or if you use YouTube, then you start doing try to generate ad revenue.
what was that called?
Oh, there's a thing called Flatter. They're micropayments.
Flatter.
Flatter, Flattr, but it's not as common as like just. I mean, if you thought you were going to have a lot of people using it, I would just use like AdSense from Google. I would use an ad service and just run ads next to it or something like that. But otherwise, use like PayPal as like a voluntary donation service.
Orange donate button.
What's that?
That orange donate button.
Yes.
Yeah.
That way.
Yeah.
That's an interesting idea. I mean, you're basically suggesting skip discs altogether and use the internet, and then anyone around the world can paraphrasing, trying to put together, that anyone around the world, even if they don't have a Blu-ray player,
They just have to have access to the internet.
It's also cheaper that way too.
It's much cheaper and it's a lot less headache for you.
You have to like arrange ship fees.
Yeah. You got to work out how to mail to Mongolia or whoever. Yeah. It simplifies things. You may start out that way. You may find people want it on DVD, and I don't know. It's going to depend on your audience.
thank you. Great idea.
That was like a 3-word question, wasn't it?
Yeah.
How long do we take on that answer? Well, I heard the color is nice and smooth. No.
Change your whole business plan.
Well, if it had been like a really long, complicated question, we probably could have just said yes.
Related question. When should I not be using the Blender render in some other rendering program?
I'm gonna go with yes.
Yeah, okay.
It's a 3-letter answer, wasn't it?
Never.
That's what I said. I would only do that like if there's a feature that you're missing.
Right.
Another one has.
Yeah.
Or there's, if you have a reason to switch, then I would switch. But
So if you're not happy with the subsurface
or if you
area,
don't
which
like
is
the
in the trunk,
interface, if you don't like the interface of Blender or something, maybe there's another software that you
Blender render
All
probably
interfaces
goes
are nice in the Blender.
I would say-
what kind of thing are you doing? Are you
Yeah, it
trying
depends
to
on what you're
do a
gonna do.
realistic rendering where it has to be perfectly accurate?
nothing really special, I guess.
I mean, are you doing like trees and millions of polygons and air quality difference and things like
Are
that?
you doing like prisms where it needs to be able to produce like rainbows? And
No, it's just interesting idea. No.
because Blender can't do that because it's not. It doesn't. Well, you can simulate it.
Right.
It's like a fake way of it.
Okay, yeah, I guess.
And that's
But
that's just through the compositing nodes. It's
You're probably, if
really complex.
I would say if you have to ask the question, you're probably going to be fine within the internal render.
Yeah.
Cycles does a lot of really cool stuff, but it's a different way of coming at rendering than the internal. You know, the way you set things up is very different. So, and then there's certain features that it doesn't have yet.
If you hate materials right now in the internal render, try out cycles and see better.
Yeah, if you like nodes, cycles, it works. But like the internal render, you got it. But then, like, so for example, if I'm, for example, one of the things I'm working on is a cast iron sewing machine. Okay, and so I found a material that I'm happy with that doesn't use textures, but you can't use just straight up non-UV text materials in the game engine yet. That's one of the some of the code potential things. That would be awesome if you could use just straight materials, procedural materials in the game engine. That would be awesome. But cycles can't render. Cycles can't bake it. You can't bake a texture of cycles, and so that's a feature that that's why I don't use cycles, because that's a feature that I need and I don't use it. So it depends.
Thank you.
It depends.
Yeah.
Do we need a slogan? Because that could be the slogan.
Count on it.
It depends.
Thank you all.
Sure.
You have to bring in a demo reel next week, next month.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you've shown before some of the stuff.
At some point, yeah.
Not a problem. Happy to feel helpful.
Uh-oh.
Funny.
You enjoying watching yourself?
Yes.
Hey, somebody's got to keep the.
Here you go, here you go. Ready?
Not yet.
So you
There are a couple more. There you go.
download stuff
Sorry.
It's over there.
So you've been working on anything? Okay.
You're in school, right? Yeah, I'm graduating.
Oh,
Next.
Next one.
Oh,
God, school and so you have like you're graduating, you're working on everything.
Come off course. Soon, finish out some minutes, then I'm done.
Okay.
Alright.
Cool, good for you. Wow. And so what did you? Where do you go?
Brown College.
Oh, okay.
Teaching out there.
Somebody actually just doing like 3D sculpting.
Oh.
Part of it was job placement. So most of the job that
Yeah. flashlights.
out of state.
Oh.
Or, oh, I don't really want to move out of Minnesota. So they're like, we can't get a job for you. Because they're not willing to.
So what's more common in the state?
Indie.
Traffic, like in films. Oh, any kind of,
They basically, what they continue is actually not for you to, after you graduate, like, well, I have this knowledge and everything to create a game on my own with models, animations, all this good stuff. It's like, you can do all this by yourself. You don't need to do anything. It's like, alright, but then like, oh, well, what do that too?
Yeah.
I guess I want to work for EA or whatever. That's the only place I can work. I'm celebrating I don't want to lose objects. I'm not sure. If that's everything. Right, I'm not sure if that's the mindset of like everybody. I don't know. Supposedly, job placement was one of the
okay, yeah.
yeah.
Huh. But that's what you did.
Right. So
Are you moving out of state then? Going to work for EA? Because I hear wonderful things about their.
I know, right? I won't carve on them. They're successful.
Yes, they are.
People still buy their games.
Yes, they do.
They
are the most hated corporation in America, but people still buy their games. Buy the drug.
You can hate them if you want, but people still buy the games.
They're dropping $60 a year. There's something not wrong.
Right.
They have a really good marketing department.
Yes.
Or they have all the good titles locked down there. They did some cities.
Yeah.
So
that was them.
that disaster. So what did you do like a final project? Did you make a game?
Actually, like, I lost all my stuff.
Oh no!
I got failed.
And you didn't back up.
I did.
You didn't back up.
I backed up the really old stuff before I started doing some good stuff. So it's like looking at it, they're all terrible.
Oh, that's like
myself.
the worst thing ever.
Yeah. And it's okay, but like, no, it's not okay. I lost it. But I made better pieces. I backed those up because of what happened. I still got the renders of some of the stuff.
But you were working on games?
Game lots, but it's okay. They weren't like not like really heavy on programming.
I was going to ask how much coding you did.
No.
What did you learn?
I learned variables.
What Python?
C sharp.
C sharp.
And C++.
Okay.
I learned the basic stuff that I didn't get into like switch delegates. Like stripe statements that just fixes everything. I was like, that's DIY talking.
Not looking into the program.
It's gonna take me at least like a month to figure this out all the way up. And someone like solid to hold my hand, going to use delegates.
Yeah.
I have no idea.
I think looking at
something. That's just that's pretty decent. The way I'm doing it is completely broken. I should be doing it like that. How I'm looking at this is I show this to a client. They won't see any of the code. They'll see the game.
And it should look effortless.
Right.
And the more work it was, the more effortless it would look.
Exactly. So I know the client. Well, I'm assuming the client is not really like big on code. Got the slider, like ask them to do it over. Like, all right. Because you never see the code, I won't know it's broken. I'm not gonna tell them that it's broken. Because I'll just show them that it works.
Yeah.
And that's not broken. Then it's working. It's like
Were you using a specific game engine?
we're using Unity.
Completely free files. Well, I mean, it's the free version, but infinitely heavy. There's a lot of features that you can't get.
Right, like lighting.
Yeah,
Shadows.
yeah,
But it still looks fairly.
yeah.
Depending on what you want to do, like set up for instead of like split it like pixel art. Alright. That's kind of like was, and that was actually not part of I was setting it up, I was like, well, first I'll create it using like sprites. Back create. I'm not gonna use sprites that are you're not using stuff. Okay. Pretty sure but that's perfectly fine because that's not easy to me. And then so yeah, I don't know. People are like really big on it. So, like, I love this idea. It's amazing. Fake 3D models. I've actually created one in a while. Okay. Concept around it. You ever played Star Fox in the house? Oh, basically it's like flying around the street and stuff. Okay. So it's basically a concept. Okay. So
Little sparkles from particles.
yeah. So flying space.
Kind of like coming up there.
Kind of like space.
Okay. Kind of like a little.
I don't know. Huh. It's just like this little thing I'm working on the side. I'm too enthusiastic for the code is
Actually,
well, I'm saying I'm just like doing like having like act as a code that shows features of the game. It shows all features. It's like I want the object to wrap, and if you look further left, you'll get to the right. Like that works. Sure. All right. I want you to be able to shoot stuff and kill things that come at you. Shoot, fix it, then straight up. Alright, that works. I was like, alright, now I want the enemy. The enemy hits you, touch you. After you take damage, you die. Alright, hit you, damage, die. Alright. So they got all the functions for it. And then after that, it's just basically
I mean, obviously,
messed up. One enemy goes down. Alright.
but
The other enemy will take that. The enemy will move and shoot. Okay. It's like I didn't know a little bit more. Sure. So, like, alright.
What are your shows about?
What
are your shows about?
What are my shows about?
Yeah.
So they're fighters.
I can show you the prototype.
So you're using Unity, but you're using C#. You're not like scripting.
I scripted it all there. You also use Java. Java's blows my mind.
JavaScript.
It's a huge project. Not JavaScript. I don't know what I do. It's like the Goonies with everything. It's really weird. It's like Sharp for Unity.
Yeah, drawing from various sources. Yeah.
Here's the other variation. All right.
Yeah, so
Like but the one where Unity can use like
wow, yeah,
I hope so.
we'll see. Looks like that's a job.
I'm,
I was like, oh, I can.
well,
I was using it.
I'm trying to learn Python, so all this is.
let's see.
I was trying to learn Python too. Like Python,
I'm still getting
blew
started.
my mind.
I'm like getting
Well, it was set up. With Java, so how do you use like whatever you want? Perfectly fine. But then like Python, you have like
Well, that's why using like
I don't ask you this question. You'll get into your video.
It's really organized.
Yeah.
It's really clean.
I'm trying to. I'll
It's like,
take
it's not that clean.
if I
So with the R scripts, I make
if I just do one,
organized.
which one frame when I'm getting started, put in the frame.
And I'm not going to
I'd like to change your format.
Yeah, change it.
All right.
Both maps.
Click this preset.
Well, that's cool.
How does now? I've heard that the new version of Blender. It used to be that you could just take the dot blend and throw it in your assets folder in Unity and just run out. Still do that? I've heard that it's not. It doesn't do that anymore.
interesting.
No.
Yeah.
Right. Importing models from. I'm trying it, but then I'm trying to figure out these bugs and stuff, and it's really weird. I usually use Max, I'm going to use it in
Okay.
I used to use Mac. I figured out how to use it.
Well, this is probably your.
I figured
Could be
out how to
the
do that. Not really sure.
That's another thing I'd
You'll
like
be
to learn.
That's why maybe someone can help me figure this out because
There may be someone who can. I know there are people who have done reading.
it's like I think it's easier. I have to explain to you. Look at the
First thing we're looking at was
I think you need skills too. Like, I don't know what to do.
Yeah, no, I'm
start going
I've never used the manual.
All right, it's a game I call this. I won't show you the script we broke in. Beyond as we
I don't know much about it.
I could break the game also. It's terrible.
You're selling it pretty hard here.
All right. So here's like based off like orthographic.
Yeah.
This is kind of what I wanted.
Yeah.
That way.
Then if you just go like
One
more, you got you go like 3 layers and those.
different adverb stripes.
That's like all right. That's basically the entire premise of the game.
Yeah.
Like there's dialogue in there, but you don't need some dialogue.
Right. Right. Yeah, you're just getting the basic mechanics.
Right. Plus, my goodness, dialogue
Spiral.
pretty hard to do. I'm not kidding. I don't understand this. It's like it pause everything, do whole routine. And after that's done, you like rerun everything else. What's going on? That's not I can't program this game.
Pretty decent.
So I created so I could pitch the idea and be like, this is what the game count looks like. I know it's not much. It'll be like, it looks really funny. There's will be like, close it.
Here, what we can do is number 7.
Yeah, it's okay.
What's weird about it is instead of seeing light, little darker, darker, which I would expect if you're resolution. You're getting a shade of gray, a shade of blue. It's like a filter. Instead of small, I'm getting a sawtooth. Yeah. Yeah, because it gets a little brighter and then darker, and a little brighter and then darker. Right. Instead of just getting the very strict. It'll take me a minute to do that.
Right. You need to make this character.
That's cool. Did you make that character?
Yes. The original character.
That's awesome.
Or
What type is it?
It's blah. I don't know.
Yeah.
Initially, I was doing
No, wait. Windows.
All right, you know what?
I'll download.
I can't actually
Click on the GUI or the camera. So you're typing blender.
No, I find it on the.
This guy.
Right. So try internal because sometimes
Oh, it's a really.
Technically, I made it.
right. So
Right.
lots of times
Original.
Yeah.
under Linux the issue is maybe don't have depending on the version of your library is different than that version. So it might be
So like, we don't want static closes.
Right.
That was silly. I don't agree. That does this. It's just like a full stress, like forever.
Right.
that's usually
That's so.
Is this for? No, you're thinking of. Oh. Yeah, that's for.
The older.
or it might be default installed in that library.
That model is
So
a
for some reason
but then
so then you can just install it.
That I can do.
I don't understand. Like when you're rotating,
That I can email you the
Excellent. That I can do that. That I can
Oh, I was, okay, got it.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so.
So, all right. So first thing you do, man.
Yes.
Actually, you know what? Let's do it on the screen.
Alright.
I gotta have a mouse. I cannot use Blender on a laptop. It breaks my brain.
Here's somebody who's like, you know, you're compositing it. You composite those 8 different images
Thank you.
together in a way that it has point. Otherwise, you'd like look at them from the side. Is there let's say I'm just doing a 4x4. Those. This is like
I'm sure it's
camera. Oh, you know, that's not. Yeah. Alright.
Really done. Really good back.
Yeah, but those, that's just like a flat image, right? Yeah.
Well,
That's a nice.
I really thought that
one of those was like really cool.
Oh, because they're forest?
Yeah.
That's why
It's always right.
I like this place too. I just think that's one of
Alright. Oh. Alright.
So I'm still seeing the
Super simple easy. And go in. First thing we'll do is the black. Basic material. If you're going to use the game engine, I use the Blender game engine. So for the Blender game engine, what I do here, when we're using just materials, you turn the diffuse all the way up, and turn the specular all the way down.
and that's every
Because what you're going to do is you're going to give it in your, one of your materials is going to be your specular, right? So you don't want the materials to give you an extra specular.
Oh, okay.
So we're going to crank the diffuse all the way up because you want it to give a full color texture. Let's say so you want to give all that color, but you're going to make a shiny matte based on that. Alright, so to get that, happy with that, pop over, you have a texture channel,
Yeah, you render it out.
UV, oh actually first. Oh, we don't have to do that.
But you must put that UVs on. So
Yeah. Type.
it is like has depth. Yeah, maybe it's not just like four. It's just like 4 planes.
Anyway, let me pick it.
It's just one of these.
Weird band name.
Grid.
So it turns out there's a lot to that final rendering process.
Yeah.
Okay, so I see.
Doesn't have to be.
No.
Compressor.
Yeah,
Oh,
like
yeah,
on the-
okay.
Did you use yours?
Sure. No.
Save this?
So that's I was like thinking like yeah, you
save
get take out the part because
And
that's
she
like
makes it.
oh my goodness. You don't really need to. It would just take a whole 3 to 5 minutes. So it's like a mirror of the process, one like flattening that well, yeah,
Let's show
project. So far, that's the only way I know to do it. Take object color. And the game is done.
Oh, no, I wanted to do it live.
Oh, okay, right.
Oh,
shift control.
Oh, we have control shift.
So you want to be able to like.
No, anyway, I just.
I'll just shift out right through the object and say, okay, now take this 3D object. Let's right color, right smile. That's exactly what that was.
Alright, so
So I could access that.
image,
Gaussian.
image,
Alright, how do you map like, you have like a separate object, like blow up, right? And then you move it through the volume. Okay.
I basically have inside this box.
So you can kind of move it through those cubes and then bring them to
That's confusing. The images are there.
Are you turning off the sequence?
Right, no, I know. Let's just.
Alright, there. They exist.
Click on the right button.
Alright. Ah, perfect.
you can stretch it back out.
Perfect. Okay.
It has the color.
So,
Yep.
so we import the image, and then you are going to go to down here. And we're going to coordinates. UV. So we have an unwrapped here. So
I'm kind of messing with it.
tab in. It's all being selected.
Yeah, moving through the box.
You're going
Before
to
it's rendering the stuff out.
Yeah.
For the animation, reconstruct it, and it'll have those colors as you do that. Assume you must just.
Alright.
Do you use, so you use volumetrics to do that?
Can you do a thing?
It depends on what you do. So here's the.
Well, I don't think it's gonna do it, but can you dial up on this? That's
What you do in general is you make a background
So
black.
now,
And then
that's the thing about
So
Blender
the-
is when you're in the image edit mode.
Doesn't render.
Okay, so what we've done is we created a movie map.
it's not like
Or come up here to our object.
I'm actually, I'm like trying to think of like, you know, if you're like.
Now we have a movie map.
An object through here, like all through top and bottom.
Does that make sense? Or,
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's say it's
So that you know which, because you can do you can do up to
like
18
as you move, like what happens when
Usually
you
what
If
you
you want to unwrap this this way, put a different texture in another way, you can do that.
Well, I just want
Comes
to.
into
You don't need.
yeah, exactly. So, okay, so we set it up. So now we go down here, we go to map.
So what you do is you
Here, so they can see it. Which is in this thing.
everything here goes first and drawing with
You can see it right there.
So that's what I said. Make an image
Do. But you see, since it's not
and then this
a perfect square image, just select it all,
and then
unwrap it again. And then we'll do it a little nicer.
Obviously,
Obviously,
it's
it's
more
more
complicated.
complicated. So, what we can do now, let's say we want
So
every
this in this case, it would create
the circle.
It's complicated.
Now, right over here.
Clear
a.
So if I had a scene where I have.
So you can do just one face at a time. And you just use the G.
Right.
I could set it up for 6 on that.
Select another face.
Well, so the easiest way to do it is have it
And then the anti-alias in my view will actually change.
to make this mask.
So what
So like you were saying, maybe you draw like
Unwrap
this,
and
it says white.
read this in
press P.
whatever the actual but
Oh,
I can't read it in.
you just set the you just set the whole image.
so that's
Say okay.
really basic stuff, setting up this map. So, but let's say you don't like that.
Like
Consent?
Yeah.
Want me to show you what I'm talking about here?
Oh, that'd be
Unwrap it.
yeah.
so there's a lot of
Alright, so,
Let's say. What else do you want to do? So that's the basic way. Now you have to
yeah.
What you're gonna do then? Image or movie.
And actually, this is a cool feature.
I haven't used this in a while.
We're gonna take the same image.
Alright,
Okay.
so
You move views obviously here.
and I'm gonna
You
use
just happy with, so the same way it was unwrapped and laid out, use the same map. Unwrap it this way. You're gonna want to create.
first scene is our first thing.
Okay.
So we create a
Okay. So, in the Blender game engine, what you can do down here is right now it's set.
You can see it's kind of cool.
It does happen.
Although when it's
So change
as is, that just
Yeah, it looks kind of like.
So, right now, all this texture does is include the color. Right? Which would also say
Maybe it's
if you have your specular map, you turn on versus how it affects the color, and just turn on how it affects the specular.
I'm gonna do a full con.
mixing the colors.
So link. It's kind of weird. I'm gonna do two.
Oh, alright.
So now I can jump between these. This one turn on this guy.
Here it is.
Next one.
Oh. This is probably such a multi-texture, not sure.
And then mask.
Oh, no, you can see it. Render.
The link.
There we go. Okay. With respect to, you can't use bump map unless you set that up.
Created.
So now, okay, so single texture, so you run this in the game engine. You would just
If I do something in here, like,
right? It wouldn't do anything fancy, look shiny. It's a very old, huge ball down. Multi-texture, layer,
So if I
that's
wanted
textures on top of each
Oh,
other.
link that.
And then what you would start doing is you would start going up and so you would mix up. It's just like you do.
So now if I
GLS
I can, but I'm trying
GLS gives you the option.
somewhere in this.
Can't do both. It lets you use the font element. So. Okay, now we can see.
Link object.
It's not default, which is the first thing I do.
never really used it on the sound.
The cool thing with this is.
Alright, so.
Move it. Okay, so that's a different So I don't need this one, so I'm not.
Obviously. I would probably be on the project a while.
Yeah. Oh, and then the specularity comes with the color of the specularity too.
It does look pretty good. It still feels like it's.
Because it's
Anyway, let's say a bump map. You can turn all these other things off.
Size
Only
there.
one.
If you look at this close.
Oh, what's awesome about
so
it will turn it into a normal map without you
Instead
doing
of getting this solid.
it's freaking sweet. It does. Oh, it's not always perfect. It just doesn't go. You can see. We've got
Pretty gross, that's noise.
right,
it's
right, yeah. But then it's too bumpy, right? It gave us the edge here. But it's too rough because it's getting. But look, you can see it gave you a simulated rough out, and then we can just mess with this here. We can increase our normal, which makes it worse. Bring it down. 5. 1. Alright, so you get a little smoother, but then this is a little far. I mean, you're not going to want it, this is only going to give you a very rough approximation. You're going to want a normal map that does the big textures and
Get a little thicker, but you're still going to get
proper
this
But
dimming because
you
the.
can get a basic idea. I mean, there's two basic textures that
Well,
I'm not worried about. You can go negative 2, so let's say we're going negative 1. So it inverts it.
but you can't obviously. I suppose you could add like.
I've never used that. So that just displays it. You can actually use, like if you have a high column
You're actually
map,
creating mist.
you can actually use,
Now you
uh,
I'm just showing you how to use a mask.
it displays the geometry.
Oh, right, yeah, but I wonder if it would actually work better
So-
like kick it out.
And so that's the basics of it. So if you had a UV, if you had a bump map with a proper UV map here,
Then,
So that all
turn
makes
into a
sense,
list.
right?
And you can
Alright,
see it.
so now,
Yeah, I was like, man, I mean, it's not good, like, are you using the same balls?
So here we go. So now we got color. I turned the color to right, so we had one that just affected color.
I mean,
And then we
obviously,
had another one.
that
So the top layer is color,
might be able to get.
next layer, and again.
So this layer is the same like another layer.
Normal.
so what we're gonna do
Normal, and that one, and so then turn it off. Picture. I don't remember what rendering. Nice.
The sharp.
That's really the basics of it. Obviously, actually had a model
The other thing that makes it different, obviously, is
fit into the image.
which factor is less, but.
Right?
Unless you get.
Yes.
something on
So
the
that's
outside.
base of it.
And then take this back.
Yeah.
That's seriously very. I'll find a normal map level thing and.
Yeah, you have to have GLSO turned on. Yeah, it kind of, and it's not on by default, which I think they should just turn it as default. Just so everything can run GLSO now, just because like these games can't run computers, these computers can't run games because just integrated graphics. But it still will
Yeah,
run.
again,
It will
this
still
is
give
probably
you.
have to deal with
Normal
when you
maps.
have.
So just like everything does, it's, I don't know why they don't turn on that default.
have to
The
deal with
default
the-
is normal, multiple.
And I guess you'd have to test and see the actual thing. Whatever.
There you go. I have one thing.
Oh,
I know a couple.
plugins don't render.
So this is our mask.
Gonna render some light.
And,
Good to see you.
but I could,
Yep. Unless you can just volume.
Plus one accuracy.
Or, where are they?
There, where are they?
It'd be better to
There.
like,
there's a button for that.
Look at something.
like slice your model
Around that area.
to eight places that it's going to do.
Stop.
Render.
Oh,
I was thinking,
Cool. Alright.
I'm not sure how you would do that.
so did this thing ever work again? It's still recording, it's just not, I can't get the, so I was gonna ask if I should log out, but.
Yeah, because I gotta get going. Okay.
Yeah, then you can create a big box and move the whole box. Yeah.
It should be blue, right?
So here it is.
Alright.
Alright, I'm gonna just turn
Through the
just
whole
quit
thing.
Firefox entirely.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
so say goodbye to everybody who's watching us. I don't know if anybody's watching us.
Yeah, I'm
Come on.
Yeah, I got it.
that actually clips nicely.
It won't let me. Sorry, it won't let me kill it.
just log out.
Just log out,
Yeah.
it'll turn it off. Okay.
Alright, so the whole point of this.
So I can render a slice like there.